That's Rebecca, that's the wrong Rebecca,
That's a reporter.
yeah,
Oh,
so we're good? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and call the Sunset Empire Transportation District Board Policy Committee meeting to order. We are still waiting for Rebecca Reed to show up. She did say she was gonna be a little bit late, but we'll go ahead and get started. On the agenda, I would like to take off public comment. Since this is a committee meeting, we will not be taking public comment during the meeting. Mary is also unable to attend today, so I will try and do her part of the job as well as possible. So roll call, Pamela,
Yes, I am here.
and I am here, and Rebecca should show up soon. So we're gonna go ahead and Pamela, we're gonna start with page 12, which is policy B-307, failure to attend meetings and perform duties. So have you had a chance to go over this?
Yeah,
Do you see any changes? Oh, wait, time out. Here comes Rebecca.
dun, dun.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's all right, we just started, we gave you 10 minutes and
Okay, thanks.
And the only thing we've done is roll call, and I did take the public comment off the agendas as we do not need to take. And I will try and do Mary's job as well as possible. She is under the weather today.
Okay.
And we are going to skip a few and come back to them at a later time, all right? And go straight to page 12. No, rushing you over.
That's okay.
So we're gonna skip to page 12, which is policy B-307, Board of Commissioners failure to attend meetings and perform duties.
Okay.
The only thing that I'm concerned about on this one, and I think we will need to have an attorney look at it for us, would be 3E, which is board may remove any board officer from office for failure to perform the duties thereof after giving the officer reasonable notice and opportunity to be heard. And since we are elected officials, I do not think we can take somebody off the board.
Well, I thought I had looked at the county. Wait, let's see.
So you think this is incorrect?
So who would remove them besides, that would mean that someone who doesn't attend or doesn't do the duties.
And this actually came from Mr. Hazen when we were having issues with another board member. And he said because we were elected officials, we could not be removed. We're elected by the public. We can be recalled. But I don't think we can be removed for any other reason.
Well,
So
then we would have to reword it so that we would refer to the proper, we have to note what is the proper pathway for removing
if it's
individual.
possible that we can actually remove somebody.
Okay, well,
So I
did
kind of
the
think
attorney
this,
get to the bottom of it?
I think we need to ask for an attorney's opinion on this.
But if we can't remove them, that means we have
A lame duck. Can we say
we
that?
have a commissioner who's not doing his or her duty.
And that comes to the point where the people that elected him would have to, him or her, would have to do a recall. Now I know but that's more in Congress and stuff where they have actually, they just took Santos out.
Well, if a person is incapacitated, let's say, they had a mental breakdown and they were disruptive and couldn't, but they didn't wanna quit,
Resign.
then, so those are all those little questions that need to be bundled together, cause maybe that is part of the county charter. As maybe
But we don't
there's
work under
something
the county charter.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because this, there's nothing about incapacitated in this, by the way.
So I kind of think we need to have,
legal counsel.
does anybody have any, with any of the rest of it? That's the only issue I have. I don't have an issue with, all the rest of it. Yeah, if the member has missed 3 meetings without excuse within a 12-month period, they would be notified in writing by the chair or acting chair. The rest of this I don't have a problem with.
How about SDAOs advising also?
Can do that.
Well, the problem is if someone gives an excuse,
And what are the excuses? I mean, medical, work is something, we always want younger people on the board, on boards, but so many of them have to work, and if they can't get off for some reason, is that,
I'm sorry.
is that a valid excuse? I mean, I think it is, but I think anybody that's gonna be on a board needs to make sure that with their employer that they can get work around the schedule as much as possible. I understand that's not always possible.
Well, it can be abused,
Yeah.
and there is a point, and maybe this doesn't cover it, that they shouldn't be on the board because they don't have time or to read the packet, to be informed of what's going on. And you don't want a commissioner that is not up to snuff.
So this doesn't address that at all. It's just if they don't show up, how do we actually know they don't read the board packet unless they come in and say I haven't read the board packet?
Well, if you've had numerous excuses, it's a good assumption, I know you can't say that the packet has not been read. Maybe, perhaps, say, okay, there are 11 meetings per year. What is it, 3 or 4 consecutive meetings?
Mhm.
Maybe
3 consecutive or 4 within a year period.
That's a lot. When you look at 11 meetings, excluding any special meetings. And so maybe to change it to 2.
Well, there's something to be said about working with an individual. And do we have a clear path to working with that person and helping him or her succeed in that position? The absentees might be a byproduct of not really getting that person engaged properly also. I mean, I don't know if this is the failure to attend, but maybe there could be some mention, and it would be beneficial if, can you as a chair work with, it is within your purview to work with other board members.
Yes, the member who has missed 3 meetings without excuse, within a 12-month period will be notified in writing by the chair.
Well, Yeah, that's a,
And I don't have a problem with it in writing, but I also think in person sitting down and saying, hey, the notice will contain time and place of the next scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting at which the performance issues will be considered. So that would be bringing it in front of the board.
and it may be implicit, it's understood that that person is contacted. It may not be in this language, but we're trying to get people to succeed in their position. And there's certainly things that we can do to maybe help them to improve.
And I just added this to our,
But if they, unexcused absences are pretty severe.
unexcused.
Yeah, but they're always gonna say work, and how do you prove that one way or the other? And I think, the way I look at it, and it's my personality is, you applied for election for this. And it is your responsibility to attend meetings. And we've seen people who do work attend. And also with Zoom, that gives you don't have to go back and forth, so you take less time off. And so when you're elected by the people, that's a commitment. And if
So
you're not
how
gonna-
how does that intent fit into our policies? I mean, I guess what we want the policy to do is just be the guardrails, that are the parameters in which the board is required to work within. So how do we, what's in here that doesn't need to be in here, and what isn't in here that needs to be in here? And then there's an implicit understanding of some of the work behind the scenes that needs to be conducted,
Like what?
like the, telling them that you're getting close to a, period of, where they're not meeting their requirements. Where, they say they've had to.
So I'm okay with the whole thing. My concern is whether or not it's illegal, that the board can actually take somebody off.
Okay,
That's my only concern. As far as excused absences, the chair's the one that decides whether it's an excusable absence. So you call me and say, I can't come in because I have to work. I can't get off of work. The third month you call and say the same thing. How can I give you an excuse? Can I say,
whether you're sick or not, it's,
is it,
okay,
if
we
it's,
just need to have the, required, after 3 consecutive
maybe after,
unexcused or excused.
so you wanna change it, a member who has missed 3 meetings, period, within a 12-month period will be notified in writing by the chair,
I'll take that. Not consecutive.
with or without.
No, not with.
Well, it would have to be, I would say consecutive.
Why would you say consecutive?
Well, I guess it's just an accrued, annual accrued number of meetings missed.
I think it's accrued, not consecutive.
I would say.
'Cause, so delete consecutive,
Delete consecutive. We're looking at number 3.
and skip 4 meetings within a year. I mean, delete 4 meetings within a year.
Well, you're gonna, if you do accumulated, 3 accumulated, yeah, we could take that out.
Because the problem is they can say anything with an excuse.
So this is excused or unexcused?
Unless there are extenuating circumstances.
Then you start getting into a gray area, and who's gonna decide that?
I think,
Just a minute. Okay, are we just at 3?
Yes,
so it'll be
Okay.
3 meetings, not 3 months, 3 meetings, and delete consecutive months.
If a commissioner fails to attend regular meetings of the board for 3 meetings within a 1-year period, and then, forget the, well, what do we really want here? You know,
What we
I
really
guess-
want is a commissioner who shows up.
So, and what is unacceptable? What is, you know, like, more than 3, okay, what if you have 3 excused? I mean, there, so,
Yeah,
I guess that qualifies. I mean, I could see where people could have 3 excused missed meetings, and they would still be in good stead. But then, so then what happens after that? So if they have 4 or more, 4,
that's a lot of meetings. I mean, I think it can be abused.
anything can be abused though.
Okay, so then,
okay, so, failure to attend regular meetings of the board for 3 meetings within a 1-year period. This thing with otherwise fails to perform any of the duties, what does that's a big giant
well, if you
basket.
refer back to the board's duties in this packet, like one of them is to read
Okay, all
the
right,
packet.
okay,
now how
so
you
should maybe in parentheses, see
Uh,
board responsibilities,
Right, and do the number, whatever
Okay.
that number is.
the number, okay.
So then A would be
The
changed.
board
to-
chair, at the chair's discretion, may take the following steps, okay. So then 3A for delete without excuse. And just say the member who has missed 3 meetings within a 12-month period, it will be notified in writing. And
Okay,
that, what that means is, when they're notified, they should know that they have breached their
Limit.
and, but we still don't know what's gonna happen to
Right.
that, okay, all right. Then 3B, the notice will contain the time and place of the next scheduled board commissioners meeting at which the performance issues will be considered,
So that means the board will consider it,
okay?
right?
Does that sound valid? I guess so.
sure,
You know, cause then we have a little bit of discretion to say, hey, you know, that person was ill, or, you know, they were all excused, absences,
Valid
there's a little bit
reasons.
of wiggle room, okay?
but, oh, I forgot. Oh, within 12-year period, do we have to put January to December, our election year dates?
I would probably say election year dates.
Yeah, so it pertains to their
Okay,
schedule. Okay,
so we'll just put July through June, right?
okay, then the C, the notice will contain a request for the individual to attend the meeting or submit in writing an explanation for the lack of performance intentions. Okay, so that kind of goes with B, because they're given an opportunity to speak up,
Right.
which also does provide the time for that person to consider whether or not they really
Right.
are able.
Yeah.
Now, the chair does the chair have to give 30 days notice after the missed 2 meetings?
3 missed.
3,
So then they would have
They
a
get the
chance to
notice.
respond. So that means they would automatically be just removed, right?
No,
it goes before the
goes in
board.
front of the board.
After the 3 days.
After 3, then
Because
the
then you're,
board chair gives them notice. They, need to come to the next meeting and explain why.
Mhm.
And then
And then,
D is considering, the board considers.
And so, but all of this is contingent upon the lawyer,
what?
on the lawyer's response
Yes,
to E.
yes.
So,
And
yeah, that's kind of gray area. We won't have D and E until we get, information.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so,
do you want me to, call SDAO and you call Matt? Or do you want to do both?
no, we're not gonna call Matt, we'll call Spencer.
I mean Spencer.
Let's wait, because some of these, we may have others that need to go through
Yeah,
too.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we're happy with that. 3 meetings, excused or not doing, performing their duties. And then we go to A, and this is through July through June. And I've added that when we have our initial organizing, when new board members come on board, this is something that's gone over very closely, so they know
Yes.
that he's.
There's a lot more, information
Yeah.
about this that will help that person succeed and
Make sure
when
that,
they start out. And,
make sure
is
they
there
understand.
access to this? Anybody who applies, well, no, you're just, is there any way that this is a public notice so that
They're public,
people know what to expect if you're going to
if you're going to run.
file for?
So
election?
it is public information, so they
Or,
do their research.
oh, no, you can't do that with election, because we don't, Sunset doesn't write, no. But you could do that if, for midterm vacancies. When you
When you
open
ta-
it,
When we have applications
Applications,
for
yeah.
appointment,
yeah,
Or appointing, yeah.
but, I think that would be good to have that on the website.
I think it is, but
Yeah,
we can find out.
so that, people, you can point to the document for them to review. If you're considering, being a commissioner or asking for an appointment to replace a commissioner midterm, please read the duties and responsibilities of this position first.
and are you putting the, board number, the policy number for board duties in this?
I just put seaboard duties in parentheses, but we can do that.
Okay, I'll look at it later, okay.
Okay, so we're good with that? We need some opinions? And then we'll go, okay, so now we'll go on to page 13. Policy B-308, board shall fill a vacancy, the board shall fill a vacancy on the board by appointment by a majority of the remaining members of the governing body. The board chair or vice chair will notify the board of any board member's resignations. The appointee shall serve until a successor can be elected at the next regular special district election. Any issues with that one?
Well, I think that it should be advertised. If people can apply. It's an elected
And I
position.
think for certain reasons, we might not necessarily be able to wait. It's like with this one, there was 2 months in between that we would be short a board member. There's also a bunch of trainings going on in these 2 months, that if we would have waited until late January to appoint somebody, that person would miss all of those trainings, those financial trainings that ODOT has asked us to do.
But that's an unusual circumstance.
And I think we need to sometimes make
This is,
sure that we're covered for those unusual circumstances. And if we make this too restricted,
well, I think we should advertise when appropriate, it's an elected position
And who's going to decide what's appropriate?
So actually, I don't like that. I think it should be open for, you can just have the deadline short. I think it should be open to the public.
And the deadline short, she resigned December 1st. December is a month that's really busy for everybody. I think this one is fine the way it is.
Well, it should be open up, and I disagree. It should be open, it should be advertised.
Well, I think you could start with that, you could say that, and then, you know, unless there are circumstances that require to facilitate a speedy, that's not the right word, but, you know, appointment.
And how do you determine the appointed person?
Well,
I think
If you don't advertise.
I think we need to be careful and not make policies so restrictive that they're black and white. I
yeah,
think
well,
some- I
you could
think
look at it both ways, then
sometimes-
it's like if you give too much, you know, leverage, then it's not, you know, tight enough so that, you know where you're going, you know, I don't know,
I mean,
this was a very unusual situation. Mary looked up the,
ORSs and everything.
I totally agree with you, Pam, that we need to, you know, have the appointments, you know, to open the applications to the public. I do. You know, I think it would be good to have some kind of a wording here so that it does give us some discretion if necessary. We just did that.
well, yeah, as you know, I was opposed to that.
Right.
Because,
What is the usual
It's
amount of
always
time that it takes to put something out to the public and to,
Well, it would be from one meeting to another meeting because we would have to have Mary put it out. And I think the board would have to ask Mary to put it out. So that would be a meeting and a point at the next meeting. So usually 30 days. This would have
yeah,
been
this
60
couldn't have
days.
happened at a worse time, timing wise for us. Not only because, you know, of the lights, you know, there's no December meeting and that we are under the gun with ODOT requirements. And we had an opportunity to have somebody, I mean, I think Paul would have waited.
that's all you had to do. And I didn't know this was, I was gonna ask some people to apply, but I never saw an advertisement, because since I've been here, it's always been,
Yeah, so we covered the bases in terms of appropriate procedures for our appointment for Paul. I would be okay to have it say, you know, that it does need to go out to the public for application, to post for application. You know, and then to say unless there are circumstances that required a more immediate appointment.
and who makes the appointment?
Who makes
Well,
that decision?
We did that, the
Well,
board.
no, we had one person, and here, you have one person.
What,
That
we-
doesn't
one
look good to
applicant?
the public. It's
One
not.
applicant?
Well, you know, it's not a democratic process. I think we can just have a special meeting if that happens. Hopefully, we'll never go through this again.
Okay, well, I would certainly like for us to, you know, move forward with this. And I could see, we're at a position today to talk about how we might wanna change anything that we're doing. And, I would be okay with saying that it have the language just be that it needs to go out to, public notice for applications that the board will review and then appoint.
So and how long is so then it's gonna come up with, how long is that period gonna be? Notice goes out today. We don't have anything in tomorrow, so we can appoint the next day. So what's this time
Okay, all right,
period?
timeframe for, well, what is a typical
30
timeframe?
days.
Okay,
Is that
Thursday.
From one meeting to another meeting.
All
Is that legal? Is that a, I
don't
don't
know.
think you have to just put the date of the application.
Well, I mean, but for how
2
long it
weeks.
really takes us to do, now we could do a special meeting, right? So, maybe just say for an appropriate amount of time for it to go out for public notice and to, convene a special meeting if necessary,
I wouldn't use the word appropriate, just that.
appropriate amount of time. Just to send it out to the public for,
It's that you
requests
advertise.
for
Right,
applicants.
right. And not put a date, time period.
Okay. And should we mention about a special meeting or not?
So
Unnecessary?
when you put it out for, application. Okay, today's our meeting, we're gonna put it out for application today. The board can decide 2 weeks, we'll come back for a special meeting and appoint somebody, or 2 weeks and we'll appoint somebody at our next meeting. So that only gives everybody 2 weeks, and if you don't have your application in within 2 weeks, you're not considered. Or something to that effect.
Whatever.
That's an example.
Well,
Whatever
we need-
deadline you put in.
Yeah, okay,
But I would
request
put-
for applicants, providing appropriate amount of time. Well,
I wouldn't use
yeah,
appropriate,
okay.
just.
Request for applicants, and then at the meeting that we do the request, we can decide on how long we're gonna take applications, whether it's an emergency and we need to meet before the next meeting and appoint.
And maybe that doesn't, none of those details need to be in
Right.
there because that actually,
Just request for
yeah,
applications.
Right.
provide a public notice for requests for applicants and a board meeting,
I would,
and
And
don't even
just
put it.
request,
All right.
because we're at our
and
meeting,
the board will review, well, people know
Yeah.
that too.
just at the meeting, just get simple. Meeting, we're gonna put out for applications, the board decides how long, so somebody makes a motion, I make a motion that we accept applications for 10 days. We have a special meeting to decide, or we make the decision at the next meeting. So all of that can be taken care of at the meeting where we're putting out applications. And if it's 3 days, it's 3 days, if it's an emergency.
Well, it
and we
has
need-
to be a normal amount of time, we have to
Well, this
agree on it being okay,
And
so
then
how
we can-
long does that usually take? You know, you put it
Well,
out,
there
and
again,
notice out,
then you're gonna get into a situation where somebody's gonna miss some trainings like this time.
Oh, you just.
Because it was only 2 weeks from the time
right,
we had our meeting to tomorrow's.
I think this one is a wash. What we did is that we used previous information and policies. We were within our purview to appoint Paul under those, but what we're looking at now is how do we wanna change that?
And we can put out requests for application and Mary can help us with the wording on that.
And actually, I don't understand why you need a board meeting for that. You could just have, that, after the resignation or whatever word it is. Mary can put out why would we need board approval? if you have
Well,
it.
somebody has to be appointed, I mean, somebody
No, oh,
has
to
to
review
review
it.
the applications, and
Oh,
isn't it and everybody, and then the board has to look at the unless there could be like a committee that
No, it has
reviews,
to
no,
be a
it just
board.
has, okay, so that goes out, with, in preparation for the special meeting where we vote on who will be appointed.
Because
We'll all get the applications in a packet in anticipation of that special meeting
If that's
to
what we
appoint.
decide to do,
Yeah,
if we need a
I
special
mean,
meeting.
that makes sense, cause we're not saying, how long, I don't think that kind of language in detail doesn't need to be in the, policies about how long that it has to be sent out, an appropriate amount of time, but forget appropriate. But,
The board can decide when they're requesting the applications. The board can make the decision. Mary, can you do the application process for a new board member? How long do you want to be out? Then the board makes that decision. 2 weeks, 1 week, depending on the situation.
for the appropriate amount of public notice and reply.
Not appropriate.
Not even to say, and not say it here, but I'm just saying that
Will take,
it will be there will be a deadline for getting that application in, right?
yes,
And it'll be based on pre-standard stuff,
Whatever's
when
going
we
on.
send out public notices. I mean, or do we need to understand that, how long it will take? Should we give it 2 weeks? I don't know, what do you think is
that can,
appropriate?
I don't think that needs to be in the
No,
policy.
not in the policy,
So-
but while we're talking about it, what would be
The
appropriate?
board, well, it depends on the circumstances. Depends. If we wanted the new member to do these trainings that are tomorrow and the next day, 2
It
weeks
would be a
would,
shorter turnaround time.
yes.
Okay,
We'd maybe have a week, a special meeting.
well, but you know what, maybe, this is what I'm saying, is that we might have to take a hit and, for our purposes of, getting people, they may have to miss that training. Because maybe what we
And
need
that's-
to do is make
yes.
it be absolutely timely amount of time for people to apply, to see the notice and time to reply. And that has to be kind of standard, we can't shorten it, I'm not sure that shorten the amount of turnaround time, deadline for submitting your application. Because see, that's just
cutting off a lot of people.
kind of curtailing people's ability
Right.
to apply.
I think the important thing is that Sunset is open and democratic process. We can work around if they miss a training, hopefully because I thought we were going to develop a packet that they would read, with financial stuff. And
Well,
so,
there's supposed to be, and there will be, or much better orientation than what I received.
Oh, absolutely.
well,
So, yeah, I think that we, when I say take the hit, it's unfortunate that this person is not gonna may have to miss out on something that's pending, and we'll have to recoup, that training for that person. And, it'll just take longer for them to get.
Well, hopefully we won't be in this situation ever again.
No, this was a perfect storm,
Okay.
so we did the best.
So we're gonna take
We could.
applications, Mary can help us with the wordings.
Yeah,
The
I would
board
say
can
that.
decide when, I don't think we should have any time limits in here, depending on the situation. When the board asks for applications, at that time, the board can decide how long. Okay,
All right,
are we good?
so what does it say here?
Mary's gonna help us with the wording.
Oh, okay, Mary's going to
Yes,
word this.
so we
And we'll review it.
we want a request for applications. And Mary can help us with the wording on that. And of course, this has to go in front of the board. This is not,
these are all these are
Yes.
all our.
the board, we may put this in front of the board and the other 4 board members may say no.
and then we need to, you know, make modifications. I
So-
would think that it would be by majority vote
It has to be.
on the, you know, like if we wanted to, we present, our committee presents
This is
to the
our
board,
recommendations.
and then
And then
we poke through it again with the whole board. And then we have to go through these things, you know, not line item, but you know, like, it's gonna be laborious, but we'll hopefully, you know, can try to get everybody on the same page, but we'll have the benefit of other people's eyes too. And, which would be good. I mean, we're doing a lot of the poking around
Yeah.
and the groundwork on this committee. And then the board will poke around on it some more, and
Yeah,
then we'll
just-
come up with the best
Right.
policies.
So the board would be voting on each policy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd really like to hear what other people have to say, of course.
Okay, moving on. Page 14, board or policy B-309, political endorsement policy. The board shall not endorse candidates for public office. The board shall not endorse candidates for position on the district board of commissioners. The board, under no circumstances, shall permit district funds to be used to support or oppose a measure or candidate for office. This does not include the permitted use of public funds to conduct informational campaigns. Nothing in this policy is intended to restrict an individual's right to freedom, to free speech, provided it is clear that such rights are being exercised by that individual as an individual and not as an agent of the district. And I don't think there's anything,
Looks pretty tight to me.
I think that one's good.
Okay, before you start reading the next one, if you look on the, so you're on page 15, and look at 16, it's almost a duplicate.
Okay,
50, the one on page 15 is more complete than the one on 16.
okay, let's work these together then. I will read both of them and then maybe we can just make one instead of two. Okay, we'll start with well, they're both B10.
Yeah, this thing is poorly, somebody didn't
March
prove this.
28th, 2013.
And July
This one's
20.
2018, so this was definitely an enhanced
Um,
version, the one on page 15.
I wonder if they meant they were supposed to take the March 28, 2013 out. Okay, let's just,
Just check with Mary on that, and see what her
okay,
Because
bet
it's
you it's-
everything.
files
I
show.
think it's everything, you can double check.
okay, let's start with the one dated July 26, 2018. And if it's the same or more, we can just take that other one, it's probably not supposed to be in there. The board shall select legal counsel for the district that is licensed and registered in the state of Oregon. The board authorizes the executive director to seek legal counsel before taking action on any district issues that may precipitate litigation. Legal counsel will be sought through Special Districts Association of Oregon or through a board-approved attorney. If necessary, legal counsel may be sought through a referral made by the Special Districts Association of Oregon or from the board-approved attorney. Any additional legal counsel used because of a referral must be licensed and registered in the state in which the lawsuit is brought. The board authorizes the executive director to seek legal counsel review of Sunset Empire Transportation District's existing and proposed agreements and contracts, including any amendments to such contracts. The board authorizes the board chair and/or the executive director to seek legal counsel independently, providing such counsel is consistent with the board's general direction. The board expects legal counsel to provide legal advice by responding to specific requests as well as proactively advising on changes to the laws that affect the district. In the event that either the board chair or the executive director independently seeks legal counsel, such contact should be reported to the full board at the earliest convenience. Okay, number 1's in there. Number 2's in there. Number 3's in there. And number 4 is in there.
So they just
So-
expanded on it.
I'm thinking that the one signed in 2013 shouldn't even be there.
Right.
Okay,
And this all 6 of these, policy items look good. I didn't hear anything
no, and
to
I've
the
looked
contrary.
at them, and other than number 6, where I've sought legal counsel on my own, they all work for me.
Okay.
So we've had quite a few of those.
Is there any, well, this was the only note I had, and I always like to be able to read something clearly, is to renumber them, so you don't have, number 2 to specifically to just, for example, after the first sentence, this is in number 2, period, and then legal counsel shall be sought, make that 3. In other words, break up number 2 into different points, so it's easier to read. That's,
Oh, I don't know,
but if
but
it,
it's all kind of, I
It's-
think 2 is kind of all pertains to itself,
Yeah.
so.
I think it's okay.
okay, and the other comment, and this may or not, on page 48 and 49. 48 is pre-loss legal counsel consultation. And 49 is legal counsel contract review. I don't know
Well,
what
I
you think.
haven't read through them, so
So,
I'd have to read through it again. You think that it might be able to be a part of,
It is part of it.
yeah, that's what I thought, but I'm open to,
would you suggest that it be a separate one, or does it fit into one of the 6?
I think
Fits
it
into one of
fits
the
in.
6.
And if you just, what are we?
The Sunset Empire Board of Commissioners authorizes the executive director to seek legal counsel before taking any action on any district issue that may, the word I can't say, so that's exactly already in here. Legal counsel will be sought either through special districts or through board-approved attorney licensed with the state of Oregon, that's in here. If necessary, legal counsel may be sought through a referral made by SDAO or our board attorney, that's in here. Any additional legal counsel used because of a referral must be, that's all in 3B
Okay, so.
or B 310.
No, this is, okay, so B 310 is selection and duties of legal counsel, selection. But this says,
Pre-loss legal counsel. So let's ask Mary if we have to have this one,
Or ask Spencer,
yeah,
or Spencer.
he would know, like, the legal counsel contract review, the B 814. Is there a reason why these have to be singled out because of their title?
On this one, only the title is different, right?
so,
And on page 49, 49, legal counsel contract review. Sunset Empire Transportation District of Commissioners authorizes the executive director to seek legal counsel review of all proposed agreements. That one's a little bit different.
You know, because I don't think we've always, one of the things that bothers me in general is there have been times we've been given stuff that we really can't change. I almost want to put, you know, the board has read this, because sometimes we can't change it. This may have nothing to do with it.
Well, somebody, you know, if Spencer could say, yeah, these need to be, well, this pre-loss one is in the same language in the selection and duties, but I would just like somebody to look at it and say, I'm kind of anticipating that Spencer saying, you know what, this, although, you know, 310 says selection and duties. Maybe the title needs to change so that we could fold into the other two.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we could ask, we could roll it around and try to figure out a better title, but maybe Spencer would know, you know, how to make the title all inclusive for these three
Put all
policies.
these three together.
Should we just ask him? Or, I mean, I don't know what to say.
So my suggestion, we go to Mary first. She may have history on why we need all three of them.
Okay,
And that saves us some legal money.
alright.
So we're thinking B310,
B10,
813, and
13 and 14.
And that might be a reason, because of the 8 versus the 3 number. I think there's some reasons for that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I could be wrong about that.
Okay, well, let's just ask an easy question first.
Otherwise, I think it's okay.
Okay.
Oh, there's one thing I had on from 310, and that's number 4. The board authorizes chair, director to seek legal advice, providing such counsel is consistent with the board's general direction. What does that mean?
I'm sorry, start over again.
Number 5 on
Okay.
310, read that.
The board expects legal counsel to provide legal advice by responding to specific requests, as well as proactively advising to changes to the laws that
Oh,
affect.
I'm sorry.
I meant 4, didn't you?
4, I
Oh.
meant 4.
The board authorizes the board chair and or the executive director to seek legal counsel independently, providing such counsel is consistent with the board's general directions. So that's like when the board's told me to ask Matt about something. So I can go and talk to Matt, and there's been a couple of times when something's early on that I contacted Spencer on.
Okay.
So if something comes up in between meetings that really doesn't call for a meeting, I have
The discretion.
the discretion to call Spencer and say, hey, Spencer, one of our board members is peeing in the bushes, what can we do about it?
I can't blame you for that.
Okay, you
And
need
we're not even halfway
That's
finished.
all I can think of, but you know, something like that, something that we're not gonna call a meeting,
Okay,
just takes a yes or no answer, or just, you know, is this something that we need to bring the board together on and make a decision with? Is this something, I don't know, I
Yeah,
can't,
no,
that's the only example I
I
can
think it's
think of,
pretty
I'm sorry.
clear.
It's the only example I can think
Okay,
of, sorry, guys. Okay, so we're good with that, other than the other two maybe.
Yes, we've got the question for Mary.
And, I wanna write these down too.
And just say, you know, and circle the title and say, title change, question mark, to incorporate all.
Right, okay, and then we already got rid of page 16, that B10. So moving on to page 17, B311, selection of an auditor. The board shall approve the selection of an auditor. The board shall give the executive director or his/her designee the authority to contract with the auditor. The board shall ensure an annual audit is made each year of the district's accounts and physical affairs. One thing, and this is something overall that I keep forgetting to bring up, but in all of these policies, should the he, her be changed to they? And a lot of other places, things that I've been working with, everybody is changing he, she to they.
Well, as a grammarian, amateur grammarian, it makes most sense to me. I was reading something or other, I went, who the heck are they? And I read the whole thing all over again. That's,
It
I
goes,
understand.
it goes with the he, she, how everybody wants to be.
I know.
Okay, how about what the board shall give the executive director or a designee?
Just take the he, she out.
Right,
I mean, you know,
but the question I have is, in general, now I don't know, I may have butchered the title of Jennifer is deputy. Anyway, Jennifer is,
operations manager,
yeah, but she's also the,
deputy executive director.
right,
She doesn't have that title.
well, she was appointed that when Lila was here.
No, Paul was.
No, Jennifer was.
She
What
wasn't.
does the position, what does the position have? What kind of authority?
Jason,
Yes, ma'am.
what is Jennifer's official title?
Jennifer's official title is Operations Officer. She was the Deputy Operations Officer before she was the Operations Officer.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, what is it again? I'm
She's
thinking,
operations officer. She was deputy operations officer under Paul. Paul was operations officer and Jennifer was under him, and when he retired. Now, did Paul have another title?
No, I don't recall him ever having another title, although you guys have always seen him as a backup to the executive director or that position.
okay, just tell me again once more, I'm so sorry.
Jennifer is operations officer.
Okay, and the other thing was, they're a former board member, there was a situation where Jeff was out. Okay, so who was,
The acting director.
there was no acting director.
Well, I thought that the operations
When,
officer stepped in
when
Jeff's
Paul,
absence,
when
is that
Paul
correct?
was here, Paul stepped in. But I'm not positive,
If we still have that,
does Jennifer step in?
From my recollection, you guys have not identified her as that,
what
although
I was
most
thinking.
recently though, there was a moment where it was mentioned that there's executive director, then there's Jennifer. Okay, right? So then there was that understanding that if executive director was not available or out of reach, then everything does fall to that position.
we need to clarify that and make sure that that is still a part of our
Succession.
organizational chart.
We need a new organizational chart anyway, needs to be updated. Okay,
Thanks,
answer-
Jason.
Pam? Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Does that answer your question, Pam?
Yeah, so we're gonna check that out.
Okay, so are we good with the selection of the auditor?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm good with this, except, do you want to include this in board's duties?
Include this in board
The
duties?
third one,
Oh, is it not in board duties?
I don't think so.
This is our policy, so it's already in board duties. I mean, with it being our policy.
Yeah, but how would you know?
Because you should be reading the damn policies.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't memorize everything, oh, wow.
Okay,
You should read these things. You should read them once a week until you have them memorized.
I'm just so glad that's the way it is.
All right, are we good, Pam? All right, page 18, B312. Committee policies. Appointment of committees and subcommittees. The Sunset Empire Transportation District Board of Commissioners may appoint committees and subcommittees to transact district business as delegated by the BOC. Committees may appoint subcommittees with the approval of the BOC. Membership. The chair of the BOC shall appoint members to serve on committees. The chair may choose to seek nominations for appointment or may directly appoint new members to a committee. Membership may be made up of both board commissioners and non-board members. There is no limit on the number of members per committee. However, no committee or subcommittee may be made up of more than 3 board commissioners so as not to constitute a quorum for BOC purposes per statutory requirements. The exception to this rule is the Budget Committee. Per statutory requirements, the Budget Committee is required to consist of all 7 board commissioners and an equal number of citizen members. The order of business at the beginning of formation of each committee or subcommittee, and again at the beginning of each fiscal year, shall be election of the chair, election of vice chair, establishment of the minute taker, typically staff, and establishment of the purpose and goals of the committee. Each committee and subcommittee shall report on its activities to the BOC on a regular basis or as designated by the BOC. Committees and subcommittees can review material and provide recommendations for action by the district, but only the BOC can authorize an action. Oh, there's more. All BOC committees and subcommittees are subject to applicable open meeting laws. Standing committees of the Board of Commissioners. The following committees will last in perpetuity. Executive Evaluation and Compensation Committee. This committee convenes on an annual basis. Northwest Ride Center Advisory Board. This committee advises the board on matters relating to the policies and operations of the NWRC. It is governed by its own bylaws. Seniors and Disabled Advisory Committee. This committee provides recommendations to the board on matters regarding seniors and those with disabilities, as well as operates as the district's Special Transportation Fund Grant Committee and the FTA 5310 Grant Committee. It is governed by its own bylaws. Budget Committee. This committee convenes on an annual basis to review and approve the budget. 5. Ad hoc committees. The Board of Commissioners may establish as many ad hoc committees and subcommittees as it deems necessary to fulfill the needs of the district. Non-BOC committees and subcommittees. The Executive Director may establish committees and subcommittees independently from the BOC. These are non-BOC committees and are developed and guided under the direction of the Executive Director with the foreknowledge of the BOC. Non-BOC committees and subcommittees may or may not contain members of the BOC or the public. Non-BOC committees and subcommittees report directly to the Executive Director. The Executive Director has the responsibility of reporting the activities of non-BOC committees to the BOC. Non-BOC committees and subcommittees are considered internal district meetings and are not subject to state or federal open meeting laws. Standing non-BOC committees. Board Policy Committee provides recommendations to the board regarding policies. It consists of members of the board as well as the executive director and executive assistant. Safety and Security Committee made up of only employees to regularly evaluate and recommend policies regarding the safety and security of the district and its employees. Employee Committee made up of only employee and provides recommendations to the executive director on employee matters. Hey, that's a big one, you guys.
So, 6D,
Yes,
non-VOC committees and subcommittees are considered internal district meetings and are not subject to state or federal open meeting laws. So, you know, we're meeting today as an open, public open meeting.
What is a subcommittee? I mean,
that's a committee, that's us as a committee,
yes,
has decided this work is too hard for us. Oh, I don't know, and we're going to have another committee help us, so that other committee goes over, maybe they go over first and then pass it on to us with our recommendations. I don't know, it's a question for Mary. Oh, did I get it right, Jason?
You did.
Jason's over there going. So we're really tired of this crap, and so we're gonna form a new committee, a subcommittee, and they're gonna do the hard work for us and then
okay.
bring back the work in. There you go.
Okay, so,
ask
because
Mary,
this is a VOC committee.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So ask Mary on that? I thought this.
No, Jason said I had it right.
Oh,
You got it right.
okay,
Jason says I have it right.
okay, so we don't ignore that. I thought the Seniors and Disabled Advisory Committee was different.
So these are questions that, because do we have a senior and disabled advisory committee?
We did, but
What is Northwest Right Center Advisory? Do we even have that anymore? We do.
No, if you allow me to speak, it's Northwest Ride Center was the ride care. I mean, so that language probably needs to leave.
So it's a done thing.
We should have we should have a seniors and disabled advisory committee.
We
But
should
it
have
isn't.
that.
Mhm.
Well, I'd like to see that
Oh.
full list of all of those that have been and are no longer, for us to see if we can get those, you know.
Back up and
Yeah.
going.
Right.
Because the senior, I think that's a very good one. And don't we have a policy committee, but do they ever meet?
This is it.
No, they have, there's another policy committee.
You have transportation,
Is that what it is?
they advise for all the projects that.
The TAC, the TAC.
Okay,
And who has that? Who knows that? Mary?
Mary.
Mary does it.
I-
Can we
that's
take
what
a
I was gonna
5-minute
ask.
break here a second?
Mhm.
Okay, excuse me.
I'd like to have Mary, look at,
I would like
give
to,
us a list of all of them,
yes.
what their current status is, who's on, you know, how many people are, I mean, is there a limit to how many people
Not
can be
on,
on a committee? That's a question. And then, you know, so then for each of those that we do have current committees, are there any positions open?
there's not, so
That's all right.
on
I'll do this.
a board of commissioners committee, you can only have 3, you can't have any more than 3. But if it's a non-board, I think they can have as many as they want. But I think the committee policy is something we need to have some help with. I think Mary needs to help us with this one.
That would be good. So we're taking a little breather here?
Yeah.
Jason, you have you had enough sugar
I already
this
had
week?
enough sugar. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have Mary help us with 20.
Okay.
I haven't had any sugar today. Oh, I'm gonna run out to my car and get my orange juice. Okay, so we're gonna let Mary help us with
The list, the
policies.
total list, yeah,
Total list, who's on them,
on the committees.
and if there's
Who and what?
expiration dates for anybody.
And that should be, now how do we integrate that into our work? Is just a kind of a separate track of opening, announcing positions available on committees, announcing to the public.
And I think she was gonna do that on one committee. I think there's one committee coming up that there's some. I can't remember what one she
For
said.
extra people,
Yeah,
okay. But we need to make time for that on the agendas in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Or as needed.
yeah. I'm hoping that, depending on how far we get today, we'll have another meeting in January, kind of as early as we can, so we can get Mary back and get any other opinions from
Sure.
her we need. It would be nice if we could have this done by our next board meeting, but if, I also don't wanna rush through it. If we're not done, we're not done. Maybe if we're not done, we can pass through the policies that are done. So we're not throwing all of them at the same time.
That's
also.
true. And kind of a two-part. But I would, I'm committed to meeting as this committee, the policy committee,
Whenever.
as needed,
Yeah.
because I would like these really,
Yeah.
towards the first of the year, getting this taken care of.
Yeah, no, the sooner the better as far as I'm concerned, so we can move it on to other things also. There's other things that. So this is, so moving on to page 21.
Oh, what we said, No.
Policies, committees, we're gonna wait and have Mary help us a little bit with.
what about work sessions? Where does that go?
Work sessions.
For like when the board meets,
Or you can have work sessions say, you wanna change the policy of speed, that's not our word.
I think once we get, okay, so I think if I read somewhere in these policies, we're actually supposed to go through the policies every 2 years.
Okay.
I think I
well,
read
let's
that
just get it on
somewhere.
the calendar then.
Well, like the city and the county both have work sessions, like if they wanted, say you did the strategic plan, which we have to do.
Right.
And instead of, first, just, running through ideas, and they usually have them after or before, probably in our instance, after the regular board meeting.
Well, I think that we do a
We can have,
special meeting, that may be similar
can-
to our special meetings.
no, we can have a work
Where we break
session,
out,
we can have a work session anytime we want it. The Clatsop County has a work session in the AM, 10:30 in the morning, on non-meeting weeks. So county commissioners meet the second and fourth
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Monday, or Wednesdays. They have a work session before those meetings at 5:00. But on the first and third Wednesdays, they have a work session at 10:30, no meeting. A work session is, like, we're gonna have a work session with John Drazen in January. He's gonna go over the finances with us. That would be a work session. So we can have a work session for anything we want.
Is that date set, or are you making that?
No, not yet.
Okay,
We haven't set a
okay,
date
well, I
on
think
that yet.
that, we're underutilizing those.
I do too.
But we also, are a volunteer board, and, we can't be, meeting, some of us are already meeting multiple times a month, but how much of a commitment
Well,
can the, individual board member commit to, I mean, I guess maybe we need to have those regularly scheduled, the availability of whether or not we convene them.
I think we just set them when we need one,
Right,
when something
Yeah.
comes up. If we start setting too many, I mean, we're already having issues on occasion with board members not showing up to board meetings. Well, then you're gonna throw work sessions in on top of people that work.
Yeah,
And how many meetings did you have today at 10 o'clock?
well, yeah, but that's, I'm taking that on, but, I guess here's one thing that I think we do, and I think we can do. There are times when we do need to have work sessions. There are
Right.
times when we have workshop, or the SDAO, oh dear, sorry about that.
SDAO,
Yeah,
meetings, conferences, sessions.
Yeah, I mean, there's, throughout the year, we have, commitments to
I mean, like
trainings and that sort of thing. But, and I think we do, but I think what a board meeting should be about, the agenda should be able to afford us to have conversations about some things and work out some of this stuff within a regularly scheduled board meeting. That's the intent. I think that's what we need to remain focused on, is to be able to do those things. A subcommittee like ours does the grunt work, and prepares something for
the board meeting.
Submission for the board meeting, so people can make decisions.
I thought we were a committee.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, I'm trying to get this, some of the differences.
So a work session would be the
No, I
one,
understand.
so that.
No,
Yeah,
some
but it's good that
committee.
you brought up the work session, because there are times when
Yeah.
there's too much, that the entire board does need to have a session. Absolutely, I think it's been underutilized.
Yes, no, I do too. Okay. B401. Okay. Page 21, Board Ethics. The Board of Commissioners of Sunset Empire Transportation District expect all elected officials, employees, and volunteers of the district to familiarize themselves and comply with the provisions of the Oregon Government Ethics Law. The provisions in the Oregon Government Ethics Law restrict some choices, decisions, or actions of a public official. Each individual public official is held personally responsible for complying with the provisions of the Oregon Government Ethics Law set forth in ORS Chapter 244 and OAR Chapter 199. This includes conflicts or potential conflicts of interest if family members of a commissioner are employed by SETD, and that all conflicts are announced at board meetings. See Appendix A, a guide for public officials explaining provisions of the law from the Oregon Government Ethics Commission.
Seems inclusive. I mean, it seems like it has everything necessary in it.
Yeah, and it is kind of what it is, and you need to read the guide for public officials. I don't have anything on that one.
I would like to, I would like to touch base with SDAO on this and to see if any other districts expand on this in any way that would be appropriate for us to consider.
I can tell you one district has no policies, they just have bylaws. It's a 2 or 3 page document and that's it.
Well, I mean, to send, since we may have a few items for SDAO, to send a copy of this and say, does this seem to cover the bases? And
My concern on that is the policies that we saw from SDAO was so expanded Remember that document we got 2 or 3 months ago that Sue handed out on employee policies?
Oh, personnel,
Look at those and how,
minutia.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that.
So I don't want to go
Okay,
so far that nobody's gonna read it or know what it
I was
understands.
just wondering if there was anything, I mean, to me, reading this, it doesn't seem that there's, it does seem to cover what's necessary and
Well,
if there's anything that is glaringly missing, I wouldn't know
Well,
how
that's
to
why-
see that.
that's why you go to the Guide for Public Officials at
Okay.
this here.
All right,
And also, I thought that in the board policy notebook, like conflicts of interest are defined.
Well, they might be in there.
I've read it somewhere, not here,
okay,
so or maybe we could throw that in.
And I didn't bring in my 3-inch binder this time because I kind of spaced it, but look in that binder.
okay.
Yeah,
Cause
Okay,
there's
so
some,
we could refer to that, put in a note here and say, see whatever the reference is.
SDAO, there's something, I didn't bring mine because it ripped my last satchel,
Okay,
so, okay, so
include reference to,
CDAO, pamphlet for public officials or something.
okay,
so we can look at
I
that.
can get the exact one,
the name of it,
right,
okay,
let's see. Because it's a huge list.
okay.
Ready to go on, page 22, B 402. Definition of public official. Elected or appointed to an office or position with a state, county, or city government. Elected or appointed to an office or position with a special district. An employee of a state, county, city, agency, or special district. An unpaid volunteer for a state, county, city, agency, or special district. Anyone serving the state of Oregon or any of its political subdivisions, such as the State Accident Insurance Fund or the Oregon Health and Science University.
Okay, that seems to cover it.
Straight
Well,
forward.
this is my question, maybe I was tired, why do we have this?
I'm assuming we need to have it in there, a definition.
We are,
Well, I know we're
Public
public
official.
officials,
Well, maybe some people don't know what the definition is.
okay, I'm just,
hey, this is the
Less
time to
is
ask
more.
questions.
less is more.
I know less is more, but I bet you before I became on this board, I probably wouldn't have known special district was in here. I probably wouldn't have known the definition of a public official included special districts.
You know what, I bet there
We
isn't
were
a
elected,
definition of special district anywhere here.
Oh.
Because that's a big,
Thank you, Pam. Kinda might wanna know that, okay. 23, B 403. Guide for public officials.
this kind of has to do with the previous one on
The
board
ethics board, I don't know.
But it's just, I mean, we could have it be separate, or it could be,
I think separate is a little bit better for this one because you might not look up ethics to find this, or you might look this up and not
okay,
think it was under ethics, so I think
it's
we're
more
good.
inclusive.
So we're good with,
Okay, are we doing grammar? I've been good,
sure.
I've been good.
all right, let's do a grammar for you, that will make you happy.
Okay. Through is THRU, this is a formal document, I
Oh,
think.
sure.
Oh.
Okay, I haven't gone into the commas, so,
You're doing very good, Pam. Okay, 24. Board of Commissioners, public meetings, B601. To lay out the policies by which the district will comply with the Oregon Public Meetings Law and to provide the rules that the district will follow in regards to citizen participation, and public comment. The district is committed to complying with the requirements as well as the spirit of the law and values public participation at its public meetings. SETD will comply with the Oregon Public Meetings Law, which can be found in its entirety at ORS 192.610 to 192.690. Where the law is open to local interpretation, the district will establish its own rules. Those local rules are laid out below. The policy applies to all meetings that occur by or under the direction of the District Board of Commissioners. This includes the District Board of Commissioners' monthly meetings, work sessions, special meetings, as well as meetings of the board's subcommittees. The public meeting, the convening of any governing body for which a quorum is required to make or deliberate toward a decision on a matter, or a subcommittee that deliberates towards a recommendation to the board or to gather information. Decisions must be made in public and secret ballots are prohibited. Procedure, quorum. For the District Board of Commissioners, a quorum is the presence of 4 of the 7 commissioners. Electronic correspondence. Meetings accomplished by telephone conference calls or other electronic means may constitute a public meeting. In such cases, the district will provide notice as well as location where the public may listen to or observe the meetings. Okay.
Can you hold off just for a second? I want to read something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
The one thing, just for information more than anything, under the procedure for the District Board of Commissioners, a quorum is the presence of 4 of the 7 commissioners. So if we have a meeting and only 4 of the commissioners show up and there's nobody up there on Zoom, I mean, there's just 4 commissioners. If we take a vote on anything, those 4 commissioners have to vote unanimously. It has to be 4 votes for something, so.
With or without the 7, a quorum would have to be 4.
So even when you come to a vote, so if there's 4 of us here and we're making a decision, it can't pass with just 3 votes for it, because all 4 have to vote. You guys understand that?
Yeah, but is it
It doesn't
explicit in
say
this?
that in here.
I'm sorry, say it again.
So there's 4 commissioners in our meeting,
Yes,
and we have to make a decision on
Right,
something. All 4 of those commissioners have to vote for whatever we're looking to do.
right,
Okay, it can't just be a quorum of those 4, so it can't just be 3. So let's say Jason's on our,
oh,
Jason's
no,
on the
no,
board.
yeah, I understand.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
somewhere that states that if you don't have a quorum attending, you vote as if you had the quorum. I've read that, if I'm not
Yeah,
making
no.
this up. If you come across it,
Yeah, I don't
what?
think that's,
Unless
Well,
I-
in the past, maybe there's been times when we might have not held the vote because we didn't have.
a quorum, yeah, there's no sense, and you wouldn't even vote.
well, maybe we'll come across it, I thought that doesn't make sense.
But this does,
Yeah.
but you believe that is legally binding, where if there were only 4 in attendance and that is a quorum, that is considered a quorum.
You have to have.
So
one.
should we
I don't-
add that language?
I don't know if it needs to be added or not, because it might be in the ORSs somewhere. We can ask Mary.
Well, let's do a question mark on that and see if it we need to, add
So you
a
would need,
descriptor of, you know, that's what we would do if we needed to have a vote at that
Right.
meeting, and there were 4 people that we could still vote, but it'd have to be a unanimous vote.
Yeah,
that's the part that's different.
So I
Yeah.
don't know, we need to check up on that.
and it
Oh,
wouldn't hurt to add it in here just for,
where did you hear that?
it's just Robert's rules, I think.
That it has to be unanimous with 4?
Well,
Because-
let's check on it.
Because if only 3 of you vote, that's not the majority of the board.
No,
Even though 3 of the board members are not there.
well, couldn't one person not, will vote nay and 3 can
Then
vote
it
yes?
wouldn't pass. So then it would be a failure to
Oh,
pass.
I see what you're saying.
Well, let's
Oh,
just
wow.
let's just get assurance that that is something that is, standard and that we need to,
Just-
include, because, you know, that does make a difference sometimes when they're, you know, could make a difference in decision-making. Vote by vote.
We'll just have Mary make sure, and it wouldn't hurt to add it to this.
Maybe that's what they meant, wherever I read that if you had 4, you still vote as a quorum.
You still have to have your 4
You could still
votes.
quote, I mean, you could still vote.
You could still vote, but to pass something, all 4
Oh,
of
that I
those
didn't-
attending members would have to vote for it, or it would be a fail.
Well, I thought it read, if you only have 4, it's still a quorum. You have
It
to
is a
vote.
quorum,
But if there's any voting to be
but if there's
done,
any voting to be done,
you don't like take the,
I
like
get
a
that.
3-1 wouldn't cut it.
3 to 1, it would
So
be a
what's the
failure.
point
It would
of-
have to be 4, everybody would have to vote in agreement.
Wow, that could, oh, wow, yeah, I checked that out.
Yeah, I'm just
Because-
kinda,
What's the point of having a quorum?
Well, you do have a quorum.
What's the point if you all have to vote the same for it to pass?
Even if you had all 7, you still need 4 votes to pass it.
Okay.
well, we'll get to the bottom of it.
Okay. So lawyer will check on that. That's something I prefer that a lawyer checks that.
Well, I don't think it's a lawyer thing, I think it's an ORS somewhere.
Oh, you do, okay.
Okay.
Oh, wait, is this more? Oh, wait, we still have more on this page, sorry, you guys, page 25 is a continuation.
Whoopsie.
Okay, continuation. Maybe it's in here, let's see. So that's what the first part, okay, meeting locations. The district board will hold all of its public meetings within the jurisdictional boundaries of the district, namely within the boundaries of Clatsop County. SETD will provide a minimum of 5 days public notice of the time, place, and agenda for any regular or special meeting. For emergency meetings, SETD will provide as much public notice as possible depending upon the unique circumstances of the particular emergency. Executive sessions. The district will comply with ORS 192.660 in regards to the use of executive sessions when appropriate and requested by the board. SETD will provide notice of such sessions as explained above under the notice section. Exemptions. Meetings that occur for a purpose other than deliberating about a
You
decision.
know, should we go, since there's a lot of these, should we talk about them as we're still fresh in our
Do.
mind from talk? Because it's an executive session.
Okay. The district will comply with ORS 192.660 in regards to the use of executive sessions when appropriate and requested by the board. SETD will provide notice of such sessions as explained above. Okay, go.
Somewhere there has been a definition of what you can do under an executive session.
It's under 192.660. Then
So,
you have A, B, and C, there's 4 reasons you can have an executive session.
right,
Okay, all right,
so,
I can see that now.
okay,
And depending on what that session is, that has to also be in the notice for the executive session. So if it's, I have these are not right, but if it's to discuss the disciplinary matters of something, it's ORS 192.660 parentheses ABC or D, but you have to put that in there too,
Okay, all right,
okay?
so we're versed in that.
So we're good on that. Okay, anything on the above ones? Number 3 or 4?
No.
Okay. Exemptions, meetings that occur for the purpose other than deliberating about or deciding upon an action of the district are not considered public meetings and are not required to follow the requirements of the Oregon public meetings laws. Now see, now I am confused.
Well, we're not making decisions,
right,
but then,
And we are not, okay, we are not making decisions and are not considered public meetings and are not required to follow the requirements of the public. But in other places, it's been saying we are.
like our
Subcommittees.
subcommittees, our VOC subcommittees are subject to public announcement and participation.
So unless this is changed somewhere, number 6 could be wrong.
So let's just circle that and refer to,
Mary,
well,
Or-
whatever that was, I
or
don't remember
more.
which one it was.
I'd say refer
So
to
about,
Mary and she can
VOC
say refer to
subcommittee.
somebody else. Okay. 6, or I'm sorry, 7, public comment. The district board will provide at least one opportunity to receive comments by the public at each one of its regularly scheduled monthly meetings and subcommittee meetings. So I took public comment off for today. At special meetings such as work sessions, the district may provide opportunities for public comment at the discretion of the board. The public will be allowed a total of 3 minutes per person to provide their comments unless otherwise determined by the board.
Yeah, and I think we should be liberal with that because we need input.
And I'm fine with that. And we can put it back on the agenda at the end if we want to, but I took it off today because.
On public comment?
Because
Maybe
it's just
we
a
should-
committee
Well,
meeting.
there's a lot of gray area we're kind of figuring here. We're gonna, when we meet again, I mean, we're gonna get some clarification on all of
Right.
this right here on the subcommittees.
and committees, because
And
there's 2
committees.
different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not- So, because we use committees to, more than we use subcommittees.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
to add subcommit, add committees to that. Do you think?
And that's kind of a big issue. We're gonna need to work on that. Gather the information, the history, the state regulations,
Mhm.
and then
Okay.
make sure we're in compliance.
Okay,
Okay, representatives of the media are welcome at all public meetings of SETD, including executive sessions. However, the media cannot report or disclose any information that is discussed within an executive session unless it is outside the scope of the purpose of the executive session. Media are excluded from certain types of executive sessions, such as strategy discussions about labor negotiations and consultations with a lawyer regarding an issue where the medium is a party. Okay, I'm good.
That's an interesting provision.
Which one's that?
No, I'm just saying that
Oh.
it's helpful in defining
Oh, okay,
that. I think
So,
that's good.
So they can be at disciplinary hearings?
they just cannot be,
Right.
if it's concerning the union contract, labor negotiations, Or if they are a party, so if they're suing us, or we're suing them, we can have an executive session with our attorney about, and they can't be in it.
Someplace, there's also, they can be excluded if there's a real estate deal.
Oh. Oh. I think you might be right on that. I think I have.
So if, we'll check on that and include that if indeed it's so.
Yeah, because we have talked about having, of course, we don't have any money now. Moving our operations to a higher ground. So it might come up sometime in the future.
And, our properties.
What about if Sunset is sued?
By the newspaper,
No, just a suit.
they can be in there. We just have to be very careful that we do not utter one word of what happened in that executive session.
Right.
Because if they find out we talked to Joe Blow over here, they can report on everything that's in that meeting.
Right.
Okay, so we just have a couple of questions on that one.
Okay. Did we do the minutes?
Huh?
We did do
Oh, we
the
didn't do the minutes, I'm sorry. The minutes from the district's public meetings will be made available within a reasonable time after each meeting. Written minutes are not a complete dictation, but will provide members present. All motions, proposals, resolutions, orders, ordinances, and measures proposed, the results of any votes by name, the substance of discussion, and a reference to any document discussed at the meeting.
Good.
I will volunteer to do the minutes of this meeting.
All right, well, great.
Great, thank you.
Bless you.
Zara's gonna skip the meeting if she said that.
It's gonna be,
Oh, we can take turns.
it's gonna be, this is who we're here,
No,
and we talked about policy and we adjourned.
my retirement, after my retirement, that was one of my goals. Never again do minutes.
I
They
don't do,
made me do word for word.
oh no.
Oh, heavens. And we talked about that earlier, a month or so ago about, Mary was providing really, very detailed. And I don't know how that got started really, other than just, we're trying to.
Board direction from a prior board.
Well, actually, I
And
personally,
really, this is more accurate, is that it is not word for word. And so,
no, I meant really word for word. I happen to like detailed minutes. Well, I summarized the Chamber of Commerce minutes, one of the, and it was wonderful. I could tell you what they did 30 years ago from the minutes. And it's the only history you have of an organization. So, but word for word, no.
But now, we have video that lasts forever. We don't need it.
What the, yeah, but you have
do
to,
they have the recording of all of the decisions made,
that's a lot of work on
Absolutely.
somebody else.
Okay, page 26, B701. Executive Director role. The Executive Director is an employee of the board and may be removed by the board by majority votes of its members. The administration of the district, SETD, and take out Northwest Ryan Center. So the administration of the district in all aspects shall be delegated to the executive director, who shall carry out the administrative functions according to the policies adopted by the board.
Can I ask Jason, do you need to time off, take a break?
No, I'm good.
Are you gonna tell us when you need to?
No, I am ready to go as long as you all.
All right, okay, I just
No,
wanna
no
be sure,
worries.
Are we on page 27?
because it's almost noon,
26, yes.
so.
No wonder it didn't make sense.
Maybe at 12:30, we'll take a 20-minute break or so.
It's up to you.
Sounds good
Did
to
you
me.
bring lunch?
Yeah.
Did you bring lunch? Cool.
Okay.
Okay. So page 26, oh, we did that one. Anything to add or delete other than the NWRC?
No.
Okay. Page 27,
Well, I had the, this is what, I don't know. For B703, which is the executive director requirements.
wait, go back to B702. First.
I know, but,
Oh, is it part of? Okay,
well,
I'm sorry.
ORC role. Somehow I think that the important sentence is the first one, that they can be removed by the board, which is not a role, it's actually the board's function, I don't know. Or it could be in somehow executive director requirements.
Well, it's sort of like, it's putting two things together, which is kind of lumpy. It says, it's appropriate that it says the executive director is an employee of the board, should be just period, okay? I mean, that they added on and may be removed by the board, I guess could have been put in another sentence or elsewhere in the policy, but it works, I think. It's just kind of talking about
Well, would,
two things.
does it, or would it be put under executive director evaluation? Not role, but in terms of termination,
Well,
it's not,
I don't think it's wrong that it's there. That it's, the second part of it says, and maybe, you think it should say, and may be removed by the board by a majority vote of its members?
can, not may.
Oh, I see, okay, can be.
And the other thing is, does this, there seems to be, could be some overlap between this and the personnel policies. Or not. Some of this stuff may overlap.
Well, and the director has to go by all,
They're two different documents.
Yeah.
but I think the director has to, because these are our policies, so other than where, if it says the executive director shall do something in these policies, he's also,
Okay,
are held to the personnel policies, and I think he may even have some extra ones over
I
that.
think there's, in addition to, that'll be another subcommittee. Personnel policies. But that was something that Sue,
Sue should be doing personnel, they're not,
I thought they were done.
oh no, not even close.
Okay.
Okay, so are we ready for 27?
Yeah,
Are you okay?
yeah, I'm not crazy about it, going on my sword here.
Well, do you wanna go over it again, or do you, or
Well, I
you
would
okay
like
with
it.
moving on?
I'd probably, termination of an executive, of the executive. And then probably with more stuff. I mean, or not. Or-
To go over the person's role, and then in addition to talk about termination within this one? 701,
Or maybe add the termination into director evaluation.
But
it might be in there. Let's see. Should we look
But
at both
this-
of them to make sure?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay, we wanna go to 704 for a second?
Okay, 704, executive director evaluation. The executive director shall receive an annual performance evaluation by a committee of the Board of Commissioners. The committee will report their findings to the board. The board will vote to approve the annual evaluation and any changes to pay or other compensation. At a minimum, the evaluation committee will consider ability to cooperate with the board, staff, community members, and other local governments, communication skills, leadership attributions, work habits, use of district resources with an emphasis on operational and physical efficiencies, performance made against strategic goals approved by the board, goals established in the executive director's previous performance evaluation.
Okay, so that's, again, doesn't really talk about termination. It's,
But that wouldn't necessarily be in his evaluation.
Right.
You wouldn't wait until his evaluation terminating if him and her,
That's true.
them, if they were doing their job properly, it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
well,
happen.
since there's the selection of the executive director, there's the evaluation, there's the role. But so somewhere you're gonna have to include the thing about it has can be removed by the board by a majority of votes of members. So I guess maybe it does fit in the role because it's kind of at the,
Can be removed.
it is a part of, I guess where else would it fit?
I think it should be separate, because if I were an executive director, I'd like to know,
Termination,
why, what the.
what are the criteria?
Right. You'd have
Well, I guess it is kind of in, spelled out in the evaluation, 704, which is all the things to consider that person's duties are and whether or not they're performing at that level, acceptable level. And then if not, so I guess if you had an additional one, we could, again, have some wording, different wording at the top, it says termination, and then a sentence about that, and then say if they're not in compliance with the their role, their job. So maybe the director's role there's a lot of different ways you could approach this, so, but we could play around with I kind of like the idea that the role is maybe more, would maybe have some of those things in the evaluation. Here's their duties,
right,
so the role, so maybe that should be in that, okay? And then you don't have to go into detail about adding, if you added one policy about termination, you would just reference these duties in the role in the first one and say if some language about what would, if those duties had not been fulfilled,
yeah, I like that.
then we have the criteria for termination.
Mhm.
It makes sense to add one. Unless you see that in the role, the evaluation, or the,
The evaluation
or
of,
the selection, it's in there. I don't know, I don't think so. What do you think, Debbie? Terminate,
Policy on termination, I
Board
think you're getting
policy.
too picky. I think you're getting, because you'll never, you have a policy on terminating, and you're trying to put every reason to terminate an executive director,
it'd have to be all inclusive.
and you miss something.
Okay, that's an argument. Maybe that's why the logic is that it says in this first one in their role, that they
And-
can,
It is,
be removed.
he is at will, they are, she is, he is at will, according to his agreement.
So if we were considering termination, we would, we would look at our board policy, and the evaluation really is the ticket, it's like that is the role. And if any of those have not been satisfied,
Well, in that case, there's some things that are missing, like financial mismanagement is missing into, financial management, I guess you put it in the positive.
use of district resources,
And I'd like to see,
And physical
Physical.
efficiencies.
and what,
use of district resources with an emphasis on operational
Oh,
and fiscal efficiencies.
yeah, but I'd rather see financial management, cause that's what happened, isn't it?
Yes, so what would that sound like?
So you have to put it at the sound financial management, sound and efficient, I don't know what. Guess it's a little,
Use of district resources with an emphasis on operational and fiscal
Fiscal efficiencies, so that really is financial
That is.
management.
no, not necessarily,
Fiscal efficiencies,
it's part of it. Fiscal efficiencies is like, when it was said, why don't you consolidate buying supplies in one central area? That's efficient.
Okay.
But on the other hand, if you transfer funds from one fund to the other, let me put it generically, if you transfer out money that is restricted to an unrestricted fund, that is financial mismanagement. And that's a big difference between.
officially, I could see maybe adding one more thing to number 5. So, use of district resources with an emphasis on operational and fiscal efficiencies, and something financial management, and what would be the word?
I really prefer, the reason that I'm harping on it is because most organizations, that's their biggest problem.
I get that, I'm just trying to figure out
So
how we can add that language. How can you, if you got any wordsmithing ideas?
one, I'd like it separate, and two, let's see, governmental, sound doesn't do it. I hate to say legal.
Yeah, well, that's the wordsmithing challenge here, we
Right.
got here, so how we're gonna say, because we know what we want.
Right.
It's just getting the right word to, perform, something financial management.
Perform financial management according to the rules of ODOT, the government, and the state.
There's there's
GG,
GG, something, whatever,
I can't,
takes care of that.
Or just say operational and fiscal efficiencies and financial management.
I still want that separate, because I think it is a
Okay.
primary cause of not only governmental entities, but non-governmental, is financial mismanagement. According to the state,
Perform financial management that maintains something. It's,
the laws of federal, state, and local governments.
It's government accounting.
I just can't remember the,
There's
yeah,
well, there was the lack of, that we I mean, in real time, you know, we didn't. This makes it a little challenging here to talk about this, but, I mean, we're not talking just generic, we're actually trying to talk about this person's
Right.
ability to, you know, if it properly, you know, be a financial management agent.
And an honest one, that's.
Yeah, and, you know, for disclosure, you know, what didn't happen previously was, that the board was, apprised of, you know, the correct, financial information.
And that's.
So that's one thing, and then the person's abilities is one thing,
Right,
but carrying out
It's
that, and then also accountability.
It's the finance director's responsibility to make sure that all of that is taken care of. It's only his responsibility to oversee that. It's not his responsibility to do it.
Perform financial oversight.
well, there is a problem, I think, and it may be, is that there isn't in this, anyway, there is no outline of the responsibilities of the finance director, officer, manager, whatever you wanna call the position. There is nothing in here.
But this isn't their policies, these are our policies. We don't have her job description, so we can't see exactly what her job description says, but it shouldn't be. It's not something that needs to go in our policies.
I know,
Because we have jurisdiction over the director, and right
And
now
only
we're
the
talking
director.
about, you know, the director's role, we're just defining, we're adding a point on here, number 8, to include, making sure that we, you know, this is a provision, this person's duties. When we have oversight over their successful completion of their duties, when we
And-
evaluate.
And as we're doing the evaluation,
So we just.
we were all on the evaluation. When you're doing the evaluation, and it will be a little bit different this year, there's nothing in there that shows what the director's doing with finances, and how would we know that he or she was overlooking the finances properly. Does that make sense, kind of?
no, because I don't think that's what happened. Okay, I think in this instance, I would just skip the word oversight. I mean, what a problem I think of the district is one, we don't know what the finance director, the responsibilities of a finance director are for Sunset. What are the responsibilities of the executive director in terms of finances? Obviously, executive director is the supervisor of the finance director, but the question is making the budget, and I don't think that's particularly, we're gonna move forward on what to do. And so I don't understand who has the responsibility, is it a equal?
So when we start the budget process, the board names who the budget officer is going to be. We don't have to name, we could name Jason. Jason, we want you to be a budget officer this year. Jason's going to go, oh shit.
Well, that's not in our purview.
Yeah,
No,
it is.
wait, but the budget's presented to us by that time. The budget officer is elected,
Appointed by the board.
board after the budget has been done. We
No,
review it. Yes,
No,
those
the-
figures.
well,
Who puts the figures that we look at?
we do.
No,
The budget committee okays all of those figures as we're going through the budget.
who puts them in?
Kelly,
That's what I'm asking.
Kelly,
Okay, I'm kind of,
Except-
a little mixed up here what we're doing.
Kelly, well, whoever the budget officer is, because they've got the budget and they're gonna put the numbers in. Jeff did it when he was the budget officer.
So we elected the budget officer
We
before,
appoint before the budget.
before
Oh,
it's done?
Yeah,
And we appoint the executive
Yes.
director.
we have, well, the executive director's always pretty much appointed himself. Hey, I'll do it because I always do it. And that was a mistake.
That's insane.
Why?
But that is our.
Because the budget officer goes through and lays everything out and brings it to the budget committee, and they're the ones that run, well,
Wow. So,
why would we need a budget officer after the budget was finished?
actually, I've never understood that.
They're appointed at the very beginning of the whole process.
I've never understood that. I thought that should be finance director. I mean, otherwise you could,
And yes, and I agree with you, totally now.
forever. I mean, why would you not choose the financial director?
Because Jeff always said, well, I'll be it, and
Yeah, I
everybody said
understand
yes.
that.
And that was a mistake on our part to start with.
Well, we didn't, we can change, can we change that?
Yes,
Can the
every
board-
year we
Can
do
we
this.
eliminate budget officer? It should be the finance director.
We appoint the finance director to be the budget officer.
It should be in the finance
There
director's
is a
description.
policy, and Paul has seen this policy because they had to send it to ODOT. And I asked for a copy of it, and he made me a copy, but then we got busy and I never got the copy, even though it was on the copy machine. There is a policy somewhere that says the budget director will be the executive director. And I think Jeff probably made that policy on his own. Paul has seen that policy. That policy went to the board of or to the ODOT.
Where
And
is that?
all of this grease, it's not in here, it's not in ours.
Okay. Oh,
But there is a policy that says that,
I think you're right somewhere, which is wrong.
which is totally wrong.
Okay, well, we wanna make a note of that because we wanna deal with that, but I don't think it pertains, but how do we answer this question here about if there's anything to add to the executive director role or with the executive director evaluation policies?
I mean, they're all, here or there. I mean, life will not change. But with this evaluation, I think we need to make sure that we have finances upfront.
So that means the evaluation committee will somehow have to work with Kelly to see how she feels that the director's doing with finances. How else is the board gonna know?
Well, that's a good idea, to ask Kelly how, for advice, on including, making sure that there is a provision for that, so that when we evaluate, that's a part of our evaluation.
Well,
And maybe she's got a good,
well,
little phrase for that.
maybe we should ask that of John.
Dresden, okay? Yeah, because, it's not rocket science here, we're just trying to
No, but
get it added on so we know what it means, and it guides us in our evaluation.
right, because
Okay,
so sort of
so we that's left up, we still got something to tweak on that one in the 704 under evaluation for
and I would
executive
also,
director, right?
yeah,
So how do we know if the executive director is properly following the finance director? Is that kind of what we're looking for?
Well, I don't know
Who
if I would
makes
say
the
it that way, but
budget? I mean, we've
We do.
appointed Jeff,
He was the budget officer.
so I want to know who puts the money.
When he was the
Okay.
officer, he put the numbers in.
Seems like,
This last time, well, he was the officer also, but by the time we started the budget, he was out. And so it was a combination between, I don't know who we ended up. Did we end up doing Paul as the budget official?
after
After Jeff
left,
Mm-hmm. Jason says yes.
okay.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
That's why you're here. So Paul
So
was
anyways.
the budget officer.
mhm.
But between him and Kelly and John, and I'm sure that Kelly was putting the numbers in, she was talking about it. Oh, I got the wrong numbers or whatever it was. I will put the right numbers in. Kelly was putting the numbers in. But with
This
Jeff,
time.
this last year, but
We could find that
before
in the
that,
meeting
Jeff
minutes
was,
too.
before that, Jeff was doing
Oh,
it.
yeah, okay, so I think, cause that's the big issue.
Well, the other thing is, Kelly's got access to all of those papers, well, so did Jeff. But we'll just pretend, even if we appoint Jason as our budget officer, he's gonna be working with Kelly, putting those numbers where they need to go.
Would you mind if I read something from the Department of, let's see here, we're at Oregon Department of Revenue.
Sure.
They have 9 steps, okay? And the
Okay.
first 2 steps is exactly what y'all are talking about. So preparing the budgets. Step 1 is budget officer appointed. Each local government must have a budget officer either appointed by the governing body or designated in the local government's charter. The budget officer is under the supervision of either the executive director or the governing body. Step 2, proposed budget prepared. The budget officer is responsible for preparing or supervising the preparation of the proposed budget for presentation, a lot of P's in there, to the budget committee. So I can see, it's kind of, you guys are on the right track there. Budget officers appointed, can be anybody you want. And then,
Do you have to?
Yeah, we have to have one.
Yeah.
By state law.
Mhm.
Uh,
Can you, is there any way you can print those?
I can't print them, but I can,
Just refer us to the,
Or
what's the
email.
document?
it's Oregon.gov, okay, and it's the actual local budgeting in Oregon document. I'll figure out a way to get that
Can
to
you,
you.
Yeah.
email us?
Huh?
Can you email us?
If it's okay?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
well,
I'll work to do that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
We can't give you directions.
All right, so it sounds like,
So,
let's just,
But
it sounds like we need to look at this some more,
very careful.
okay?
okay.
And the other thing, is, we were all shocked of Jeff's behavior toward the staff. And we have to put more than cooperate.
So
In other words, treatment.
So what I have found out through all of this, and this is,
What is that? You did that to me once before.
it's quiet, this is a public meeting, so it won't be quiet. So what I have learned is, yes, there was a lot of staff that did not get along, did not like Jeff, he had issues with them. But the same thing goes through, not the same thing, but there was also staff that didn't necessarily trust HR. HR picked who the evaluations went to. That's not gonna happen
Right.
again.
Right.
So we never really got a clear view, and I don't know if that was my fault, but the first year I was chair, and Sue came to me and said it's time to do the evaluation, I assumed, and I always get in trouble when I assume, that she led us through, just like Mary was leading us through these. So I took her word that we were doing it the way we were supposed to be doing it. It has come to light that that's not the way you do an evaluation. HR should not be involved with it at all. Or SDAO. I've talked to a former board chair and have found out how that board chair had done evaluations before my time. And I wish that board chair would have came to me knowing how we were doing them when I first started, and she just never did. So those are gonna change. So maybe we will get a better picture on how the staff really interacts with the executive
Yeah,
director.
we're not directly, it's not our job to glean that information. It is provided to us through that process of getting, that is a process of, that the evaluation is to get staff feedback.
True staff feedback.
Well, I think we need to use an outside source.
I don't think we can afford it.
I know that part.
I think we can follow what the previous chair had done, and I think it will be okay.
Which is, ask all the employees,
All the
which is
employees
a given, I
and
think.
their
And make it
evaluations,
be,
very
private,
anonymous.
anonymous.
What I plan on doing, is a plain white envelope will go to each one of the employees with the evaluation. They can also fill out the evaluation online, so there's no handwriting. And print it and put it in that plain envelope. And hand it to somebody they trust. I'm thinking the shop steward, which is with the union. Or if we have an
EEO, Equal Employment
person
Opportunity Officer designated.
designated to that person. That way, those will go in plain envelopes to somebody they trust to the evaluation committee.
So that needs to be tidied up this in 2024.
Okay,
Because I never liked the idea that HR was selecting who they were giving them to. And I
I
questioned
think
that.
it was probably, as I recall, I think it was for expediency's sake, but that's really not
And-
valid
and,
enough.
but that's what was said,
So
too much
if
work.
we were ahead of the game and we were prepared, then you wouldn't have to worry about a timing thing, so.
So,
Yeah, well, I think that's good, and I think we need to pull this aside. I had did some research, and apparently it's gone, but I think we have to, my suggestion would be, well, this is how I look at it, is from previous experience here, what do we wanna see in a good manager, director? And that the wordsmithing is tight enough that it says what we wanna say, but not so detailed that you,
that you're stuck
Go
with
off the
something.
rails.
that you really don't want.
Okay, yeah, I think we're 90% there, we just need to take one more look at it. And we can get some more information about, how to word that with the inclusiveness about good financial management.
According to, we have to, those are acronyms are somewhere. I mean,
Okay,
Okay, you guys, it's 12:30.
all right, so take a little 20-minute break.
Take a little 20-minute break.
Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording.
Alrighty,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so we had quite a little discussion on some other stuff. So just to backtrack a little bit, we're good with the executive director role? page 26, B701, right? We just changed may to can. Is that correct?
On 20,
6,
yes,
okay?
and we're gonna get, okay, yeah, for that one,
That
yes.
one's pretty, okay. So now we're executive director selection. That's page 27, B-702.
Okay, I thought we were gonna,
Because we kind
I'm
of,
sorry,
page 27,
uh-huh.
B-702, because we kind of didn't really get into this, we kind of went forward,
Oh, I see, okay.
okay? Okay, so the executive director
Do you
director
have to read
selection.
that out loud or not?
Well, Mary is, I don't know, I don't have to,
Yeah, I'll do it, you take a break,
but, okay.
I'll read them.
I'll witness it.
Okay, executive director selection. The board of, and you know what, maybe line on him, let's just, if something piques our interest,
What
we'll
I'm
do it then.
Okay.
The board of directors shall initiate a process that will facilitate the hiring of an executive director. The process will be initiated a minimum of 4 months in advance of a planned vacancy. If necessary, the board will appoint an interim director. The board shall confer on A, the selection process, including the timeline and method of advertising for the position.
This is not, I think, in the board's duties, and responsibilities list, the timeline and method. It is in our board responsibilities.
Mhm.
I mean, I know we can select somebody.
Yeah, because we have to say we want to have somebody on board. And like, George came in, because we hired George from SDAO. And he came in with all of this for us, but we had to okay it.
We worked with him on it.
Okay.
B, the desired management skills and leadership characteristics, including but not limited to 1, industry and special district experience and expertise. 2, operational and strategic planning and implementation experience. 3, labor relations management. 4, long-range fiscal planning and management. 5, involvement in good relations with the community. 6, moral character. C, consider.
Just wanted to mention that in, where is it? I5,
Yeah,
it has long-range fiscal planning and management. Just to give you that,
oh, okay,
okay?
fiscal planning and management, there's a little language, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay, C, consideration will also be given to education and continued professional development, professional accomplishments, and 3, professional credentials and affiliations. D, compensation factors. Okay, number 4, candidates for the position of executive director may be solicited both internally and externally. 5, the board may consider a process that solicits input from district citizens, district employees, and local government officials. 6, the selection of an executive director and the process used shall be the exclusive decision and at the sole discretion of the Board of Commissioners. 7, successful candidates for the position will be expected to meet all the requirements of the district's hiring policies. Well, that looks pretty cut and dry. What do you think?
I had no problems with that one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so, page 28. Executive director requirements. Policy. Number 1. Initiate, administer, and supervise all activities, functions, operations, and programs of the district. 2, supervise the construction, maintenance, and upkeep of any facilities and equipment owned, operated, or maintained by the district. 3, recommend to the board the acquisition of new or sale of used equipment and facilities. 4, enforce all policies, resolutions, and ordinances adopted by the board. 5, keep and maintain proper fiscal records for the district, including monthly financial accounting reports to be reviewed by the board.
I have a question, so is that executive director's responsibility or the finance manager?
It says executive director.
No, but I'm
requires-
asking,
Oh.
in reality,
Keep and maintain proper fiscal records for the district.
whose responsibility is that?
So I think the finance director is, but the
But
executive
he is
director
too.
needs to make sure that they're being done properly.
Okay,
It doesn't mean that they generate it. The director, anyway, okay, all right, hire and, when necessary, fire, promote and demote all personnel necessary to carry out the business of the district, subject to the limitations of, I'm not gonna read the numbers of the ORS
Okay.
stuff, and the rules of the board. 7, development of position descriptions for each position reporting to the executive director based on the role of the position rather than the individual in the position. A, responsible for periodic review of position descriptions to ensure their compatibility with the management structure and operation of the district. 8, maintain interagency agreements as to follow appropriate exchange or utilization of interagency resources, thereby maximizing efficiencies. 9, keep the board advised as to the needs of the district. 10, devote the entire working time of the executive director to the business of the district. 11, act as the clerk of the board as directed in board duties and responsibilities policy.
wait, that I don't understand.
B 304.
We had questions on B
And
304.
we changed that to Mary.
Oh,
Right. And,
okay.
and is, she's more than the clerk of the board, she's the executive. Is that what it's called?
No,
Is
the
that-
clerk is the director.
This says the clerk is the director.
That doesn't even make sense.
We changed it to Mary somewhere in here.
You said the clerk of the
The
board.
clerk of the board shall be the executive director, and we changed that to
On B 307.
305, page 10.
Okay, so clerk of the board is executive assistant Mary Parker.
Yep.
So,
So if we
can
put
we
Mary
just
Parker in
delete
there,
that?
if we put Mary Parker in there, then she can never ever leave.
And so do you have to put then that her position's title is, what is it, executive assistant?
Yeah,
Or
what's, Jason,
Yes, ma'am.
Mary's official,
Well, she's the assistant to the executive director, and then on my understanding, she's always been,
the board
I've
clerk.
never heard the word clerk before, but I've heard the,
Liaison?
yes.
Yeah, I think she needs to be act as the clerk of the board
Or,
as listed in board duties and responsibilities.
B 304.
And
So,
B 304 has nothing to do with that.
well, so really, we need to delete number 11 because
Yeah,
the executive director is not that person.
right.
Okay, so that's deleted, good. Okay, the new number 11 is the next one, which is perform such other duties as the board requires by resolution.
Okay.
Number 12, attend all meetings of the board and may participate in deliberations but may not vote.
how about cannot vote?
But may not vote, but cannot vote.
Because you don't even use the
May not,
executive
yeah.
director as a tiebreaker. So,
Sometimes may is like a request, like may I?
permission.
but it doesn't mean
And
might, okay. Okay, so
Are we
that looks
changing it
good,
to can then?
cannot, one
Cannot
word.
work.
Mhm. Okay, so the next one is
Okay, the next one,
704. And that is, we've kind of gone over that and we've made notes that we're gonna,
do a little more research
a
on it.
little more research. Okay, on the issue about financial oversight. And actually, what was that language that we just saw?
finance management.
Let's see. Long-range fiscal planning and management. Perform long-range fiscal planning and management. Why don't we just put that in there, plug that in there, in that thing?
Is that 703 still?
Yeah, 702
Oh, 702.
is executive director
Okay.
selection. It's 3B4, where it says long-range fiscal planning and management. Does that sound good? Should we say perform long-range fiscal planning and management for number 8 on this thing on the evaluation? So go to page 29.
So we're not doing, perform,
Well, yeah,
yeah, we're doing.
perform, but then we're kind of borrowing this language from, page 27, which is the executive director selection. Remember, Pam, when you pointed out that phrase about planning and,
So how about according to applicable regulations?
well, this executive director evaluations, they're not even complete sentences. Go look at page 29.
Mhm.
You looking at it?
Mhm.
Okay. So you wanted to add number 8 to the bottom.
Mhm.
So here's something for you to consider. What do you think of this? Perform long-range fiscal planning and management. What do you think of that?
Well, because that's a description of his duties rather than how he does it.
Okay.
So are you,
Perform effective long-range.
legal? I don't like to use the word legal because that gets you in trouble. According to the rules of finance.
Government accounting, that government accounting thing.
According to government accounting,
How about ability to perform? Because see on number 1, it says ability to cooperate, ability. So ability to
And that means he needs to be doing it too.
I'm sorry, what?
perform long-range fiscal planning and management.
Mhm.
What do you think of that, Pam?
Ability,
Ability to perform long-range fiscal planning and management.
That's number 8.
well, I guess you could get mismanagement under there, right? If you were
If
determined,
you're not paying attention to it.
no, I mean, if you felt the director was mismanaging finances, it could go
You
under
would fall
this.
under there.
Right.
Okay,
Okay, I'm
I
glad
like
you
it.
found that, yeah, I'm glad
Okay.
you found that. Okay, I gotta get my pages right here.
8, 29.
Okay, so we're good.
can you just add, according to all relevant, statutes?
Okay. Oops, I gotta find where did I put that? I gotta write that down just a second. To all what statutes?
Relevant, we could fill in maybe later.
Okay,
I put in government accounting and I'll put that initial or whatever that,
Okay.
government accounting,
yeah.
Or relevant government accounting statutes.
okay, cool. All right, so page 30, and that is executive director action without policy. Policy, the executive director in the absence of board policy shall attempt to contact the board chair for direction. If the board chair is unavailable and immediate action is necessary, the executive director shall have the power and latitude to act. The executive director shall notify the board chair and vice chair as soon as possible of any actions taken. The board chair shall notify the board of any action, board chair shall notify the board of any action taken. The board chair shall inform the board at their next meeting of any action that may suggest the need for additional board adopted policy.
Now, would this include, like, to contact second in the hierarchy of positions? So if there's a deputy executive director, we don't seem to have that clear.
If there's no policy, with this, he's going to his boss. You wouldn't go lower.
So the
Okay.
board chair, if you're not available, then
Then he has the
the
permission to take the action
vice
needed.
chair. Oh,
Well, but no, vice chair should be added in there. If the board chair is unavailable and immediate action is necessary, I think he should try,
The vice chair.
Then-
so add,
the vice chair
vice chair
will be
before
contacted.
the executive director takes action.
Okay.
If he can't reach the board chair or the vice chair, then he can take whatever actions he thinks needs to be, and then.
Okay, because it's timely, it's like time sensitive.
Yeah.
The board chair shall notify the board
And then
of any action taken after the fact. The board chair,
so it should be the board chair or vice chair
okay,
shall
Yeah.
notify.
got it, good. The board chair shall, or vice chair on all of those, shall inform the board at their next meeting of any action that may suggest the need for additional board adopted policy. Well, that's a good provision,
Mm-hmm.
because, occasionally something like that might happen, and then it shows the direction in which the board needs to go, which is to adopt an additional policy.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm good with that,
all right.
okay? Security,
Finance and budget. Policy. The Sunset Empire Transportation District Board of Commissioners shall designate the executive director to be responsible for the financial management of the district, and then delete in the Northwest Ride Center.
Yep.
The executive director will ensure compliance with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. The executive director shall be responsible for development and maintenance of operational procedures regarding financial planning, budget, revenue, and expenditures. The district shall adhere to the standards set forth by the
There it
government.
is.
government accounting standards.
Oh. Okay. Here it is. Shall adhere to the standards set forth by GASB. The adopted budget document shall serve as the financial plan of operation and provide guidelines for carrying out the goals and objectives of the district as stated in the strategic plan. Look okay?
Well, this is where, just for the financial. So who makes the budget, is that answered, or am I,
No,
it isn't answered.
Well,
Regarding the financial planning.
you know, he or she, the director is responsible for the financial management. The director has staff who conduct that business with the director, which is our finance officer. So I think that's understood. You know what this needs is an organizational chart with all of the proper names of the different positions and to show who's under whom.
Mhm.
But other than that, what do you think?
I think it looks good. This kind of points out what he's responsible for as far as the financials. He's responsible for the planning, he's responsible to make sure that the budget is being followed, revenue and expenditures are being followed, and he should come to the
People or
board.
others may be doing the work, but
But
he
he
is
needs
the
to-
final signer,
Yeah,
signs off on the work.
The only thing I have, and this may or may not apply, so I have checked personnel duties, checked the duties and the personnel, which I didn't do.
that should be HR.
So do we need to not include this?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm gonna say that one's
I think that's good, other than
good.
taking out that one
in
little
regards to
spot.
finance and budget. Okay, then formulation of the SETD, get rid of NWRC. Budget and budget committee. Policy, the BOC shall be responsible to ensure, I think that's ENSURE, compliance with all state and county legal requirements for the budget process. 1, the BOC shall A, designate the district budget officer. B, approve budget committee members. C, conduct the budget hearing. D, adopt the budget, make appropriations, declare and categorize property tax amounts or rates. 2, the budget committee shall consist of the 7 members of the BOC and 7 appointed community members. 3, no member of the budget committee shall receive compensation for their services. 4, terms of the community members shall be 3 years and shall be staggered. 5, the budget committee shall elect a chairperson at its first meeting. 6, the budget committee shall hold 1 or more meetings as necessary to A, receive the budget document, and B, provide the citizens of the district the opportunity to comment on or ask questions concerning the budget document.
and I would say to hold a second meeting if there are any changes. And the
Hold
reason,
additional meetings as necessary.
It says budget committee shall hold 1 or more meetings as necessary.
well, at times we haven't, and I worry about if you've made a change, and it's very easy to put the wrong number or whatever figure in there.
Well, we're assuming that things are gonna be done, in compliance and accurately.
I kind of,
But I mean,
I actually kind of see not necessarily your reasoning for a second meeting, but I think we should be holding 2 meetings. My reasoning is once we come up with the budget, say we do come up with the budget in the first meeting, I think we should hold the second one for public input in case, that way it gives public that maybe wasn't at the first meeting a chance to look at the budget, because then it would be out there, it would be posted, and it would give citizens an opportunity to make a comment or ask questions after it's been posted once.
I like that.
Does that make
That's
sense?
good.
So be a little more explicit about a second meeting.
Yes.
Required.
And it might not be a long meeting, it might just be, it also gives the budget committee a chance to kind of look at it and think of other things.
Yeah, because it is kind of a rapid fire process.
And I
Okay.
think with our rapid fire process that we've had in the past, it has not been to the best of our,
Well,
for what's
people
best.
need to digest it, okay?
yeah.
All right, so how should we, where do we put that and what kind of language, how should we?
So I think we should just stay with number 6, the budget committee shall hold 2 or more meetings
Okay,
to receive the budget document.
okay, because if B does explain the public comment and.
Provide the citizens of the district the opportunity to comment on or ask questions concerning the budget. Yeah, maybe we don't have to add a C.
That's inclusive, okay,
Do we add 2 required meetings? Or that's-
Yeah, so number 6 should read, the budget committee shall hold 2 or more meetings as necessary.
No, I was wondering, like, shall hold 2 required meetings or more.
2 required. Meetings or more as necessary. First one being to receive the budget document. And then provide the citizens of the district the opportunity to comment on or ask question concerning the budget document once posted.
okay, good idea.
So that kind of explains that.
Yeah, that people will get a chance to see it.
Right. Does that make sense?
Looks good.
All right. 32.
All right, so administration of the budget. Policy, number 1, the adopted budget is the financial plan developed to carry out the program supported by the SCTD, Scratch, and NWRC goals and objectives. 2, the executive director will provide financial reports on a regularly scheduled basis showing comparison of revenues and expenditures with budgeted appropriations.
Now, we've never seen
Regularly scheduled basis.
I don't like, okay, so just going back to the past, and the executive director, I think we should put the executive director or designee, which would bring in the finance director, because this basically says that he's gonna be reporting on all of that stuff, and we have found out that that
So we
wasn't
say
necessary.
and financial officer.
And financial officer.
Okay, good.
Okay, number 3, the VOC must authorize all transfers of appropriations from one fund to another or within a fund through either a board resolution or the adoption of a supplemental budget. And we're already doing that, aren't we?
No, kind of.
Yeah, wow.
Because we do adopt a supplemental budget.
That must authorize all transfers of appropriations from one fund to another within a fund
That was,
through either a board resolution or the adoption of a supplemental budget.
first there was a problem at some point that it wasn't identified at all. So the transfers have to be approved by the board, which they weren't, some of them, and some of them we didn't know.
But we've cleaned up that process.
Well, the big problem is, in anything, is if your director's honest.
So I'm a little confused. All transfers of appropriations, so we transfer twice a month from our general fund to our payroll fund. And that's just done automatically because it's, and I've always questioned this, but everybody does it, so it's okay. It must be okay. So we take money out of the general fund or the LIG fund, whatever one it is, and transfer it to our payroll. And then that goes out. So that one, I don't think we have to okay that one because it has to be done.
Yeah, well, the problem
Must,
is,
how about they report?
I'm sorry,
Oh, I interrupted you, go ahead, go for it, sorry.
I would like to see as a board member, how much you take out of the general fund, how much you take out of LGIP. Whether that particular one has to be board approval would be a nightmare. But what you could do is require it on your financial statement that we receive every month.
So she does kind of report because you can see how much the general fund goes down and how much the payroll goes up, and she always transfers a little bit more to cover to make sure there's no mistakes, and so there transfers a little bit more than actually needed. But you can tell that on that dashboard that she's doing now. I guess, so that one doesn't bother me. And she is doing this because she did say that she's opening up a new bank account as soon as we can all go down and sign to start our reserve/contingency fund, and she's gonna put $300,000 from, and I don't remember what account now, into that.
I believe so.
That's correct.
So she is telling us that, which I don't think we were getting before because we only had like 2 bank accounts before, which was bad. She also is set up for our grant monies and stuff going into too. So in a way, I think we need a little bit explanation on that, on how that's actually working now.
I would like to see though, I mean, does she do the figures for the LGIP, the investment? And what is the, how do you know how much she's done for payroll? How much has been done to pay accounts payable?
So if you look at the prior month, you'll see how much is left in payroll and then what it is now. So you can, if you do some adding, you can tell. Adding and subtracting, you can tell.
But I don't think we should be doing that. I think that should be black
Well, I
and
think we
white.
should be doing it to check her numbers.
No, I mean, I think we should be putting it in the report.
Well, all you have to do is ask her, because she's been good about that. The one thing, and I'm gonna say this because I thought it was really, really good when I was talking to Craig about our financials and how at least I'm able to understand them a lot better than I was prior. He said that our financials right now, the way they are being reported, could be used as an example in a lot of the districts because they're so well laid out now.
We're just adjusting to the new reporting.
So
What about the bank accounts for the grants?
she's got those separate set up.
So we were supposed to see that.
It's on the dashboard.
It is?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll look at it again.
Okay, so, but how,
So
what needs to be in this document that,
I need
and
to,
that doesn't need to be in this policy?
this one, I think, I wanna know what,
Authorize, I mean, what, are
I
we,
wanna know
is that our
what
job?
transfers they're actually talking about. What appropriations from one fund to another within the fund? I guess I just need somebody to explain that to me a little bit better.
What you wanna see is supposing you are short somewhere, payroll, for example. So you transfer the money from payroll or from another account,
Yeah.
line item.
Another line item.
To the line item for payroll. And sometimes that has not been done,
It has not been done.
right? So that's a really, how.
That was one of the things that Hazen got around by saying we could have, our budget could just say revenue and expenses, and you wouldn't have to have any line items because you can't spend any more than your, or whatever it was he used to say. But I'm with Pam, if you're gonna be short on payroll, what line item are you taking out? Because we have also found out that even though Mary was given $30,000 a year for outreach programs, she never got to use any of that. So he was using her line item to fund.
So we need to know about how all transfers, about every
There
transfer.
really should be a financial note on the finance department.
On our financials,
Right.
there should be some type of a note that, especially toward the end of the year when we start getting short on money. Okay, we underfunded our office products.
Right.
And we're gonna need to take $500 more to get us through the year, so we're gonna take it out of Mary's budget because she hasn't spent her $30,000, she's not gonna spend all of it. So we're gonna take $500 out of Mary's budget to help fund the office products this year.
And that is a discussion that the board needs to know about those transfers. We're not in charge of like trying to figure out where the transfer.
Right.
That's the executive director, the financial officer, and, the
Anybody
two
else
of
that
them
wanna pull
that
in?
are our financial department per se.
Probably, it would behoove us to have a list of those, say in April or May, so that you could do the budget correctly, unless you
And
want.
we have a vision of how they are juggling, different funds and moving them around in an appropriate way.
Well,
So we
and-
still can see how they are being moved around.
When we get that budget to start working on, it shows how much they have spent so far on each line item.
Right,
So we do get that
that's true, that's
in
true.
April, May, let me talk to Mary.
They could help you
Yeah.
to,
Or
write
Greg,
number 3.
or Kelly. Because we wanna know line items,
Transfer from one line item to another.
and then I wanna know a little bit more about appropriations. I'm not sure what they mean by appropriations.
And what does it mean to authorize? I mean, we're just, is that a formal act, or is that just kind of a small a authorized? Or
No,
we are
it would need,
looking at them?
need a board resolution, which would mean, that's the same as a motion.
So we need to approve them.
Yeah.
Which we've never done.
Well, and I don't really necessarily think we need to, from line item to line item, I think we just need to know that. But I think we need to know when we take, and I'm not so worried about payroll, something coming from, unless we don't have money in the general fund to take care of payroll, then are we taking it out of stiff money? Then we need to know, that's something I think we need to know.
Can't take it, stiff money.
So let me do a little research on number 3 and see exactly.
That's really important.
Yeah.
This is where I would like to err on the side of more information
Right.
on this policy.
Yeah,
So it's very explicit.
because in my opinion, they don't need our permission to take money out of Jason's budget to help Mary out. Might need Jason's permission. But I wanna know that they've done it. Does that make sense?
And hopefully, these decisions, we're kind of resetting, kind of
Policy.
pushing the reset button. And we're creating it now, and after a while, it will understand the flow and the decision-making of those two people
Mm-hmm,
and they and so this is kind of a work in progress,
Right.
really.
Because it used to be, you'd only see transfer in. And you go, well, where's the transfer out? Or vice
Yeah.
versa.
And how that's reported,
mm-hmm.
so, okay,
Okay, I'll do some information, I'll do some work on that one.
all right. Okay, so, I made notes on that.
Maybe this does something to it.
All right, number 4, in the event of an emergency or natural disaster,
Wait. I'm on page 34.
oh, did we already go through that?
Mm-mm. We just did page 33, administration of budget,
All right,
and then on 30,
did I read off number 4? On 33?
oh, maybe not, I'm sorry, go on.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hey. In the event of an emergency or natural disaster, it may be necessary to respond quickly in order to protect public health or safety. In such cases, any expenditures or loans made outside the budget will be authorized by the Board of Commissioners through resolution or by written order of the Executive Director or his or
Of
her
the
designee.
designee.
Or designate. So does that, we haven't, on my feed, I haven't
I think if it's
experienced that, but,
I think if it's an emergency, we have to let it be done if we need to.
all right.
And then we can do whatever needs to be done after.
Okay.
Wait, loans?
Outside of the budget, any loans.
Well, we're gonna be meeting, we would probably have a special emergency meeting, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
He couldn't sign any loans without our permission, but he could get them started. Like Jeff started the loan process, but never finished it.
I don't know if there needs to be more detail in this. Like as in, the, actual series of events that need to fall into place in order to request, or try to go out for a loan.
To me, this reads, outside of the budget. In such cases, any expenditures or loans, did we loan somebody? I'm looking at, did we loan somebody money?
Oh, right.
No,
I'm not looking at it that we went out for a loan, I'm looking at it as, did we loan?
well, it could be both ways,
That's-
but, so maybe it just needs to say, it implicitly says that it'll be necessary to respond quickly. And and the Board of Commissioners, by resolution or written order, that means that we will have met. So we have to say, should we say by a special meeting?
Yeah.
Because then it says, it's not gonna happen unless
Right.
we have all the facts and we meet. Then the Board of Commissioners makes a decision on, works with, on the question of whether any expenditures or loans
And
made
this is-
outside the budget needs to be authorized.
And this is to protect the health or safety.
Is this
Okay.
a violation of any law that,
The loan thing, I'm not so sure about, I don't think we.
any money outside, any approval of anything monetary outside the budget, is there a law about that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. In such cases, any expenditures made outside of the budget will be authorized.
So do we have a separate document on budget? A separate
So,
policies?
I checked
They
that.
should be in alignment with that.
Yeah, because you don't want under
It's the thing that really gets me more than anything is the loans here. In such cases, any expenditures made outside of the budget
considering where we are, I
will
would
be
check that out.
authorized by the Board of Commissioners through a resolution. Let me ask more questions on that too while I'm asking on number 3.
Okay, and the legal, yeah, so see that legal, how would ODOT react if they saw this?
In our case, particularly now.
Let me see exactly what number 4 means.
You're gonna
I
check
can
it.
see the loan thing set aside. I can see some natural disaster and we have to take money out of our STIF fund to finance something until we can get through. I could see something like that.
That's
There's
a
no-
transfer of funding.
Yeah,
But then if we have
Outside
it
of-
in our budget, and which would mean having to have a loan,
Replacement,
then we'd have to get a loan to replace that money or
So-
something.
and we did do that this year.
And so, but the loan can only be taken by the board. The director cannot sign for a loan without the board approval.
That's the main thing about this, is that
Mhm.
this is a process that is conducted in conjunction with staff and with the board.
Yeah.
Before any loans can be procured.
Right. Let me double check on.
Why don't you
on
just
the
check
floor.
on this and see, before we start wordsmithing.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, Board of Commissioners, depositories and disbursement of funds. Policy, 1, the board officers, the executive director,
commissioners,
the board officers, commissioners,
Should be commissioners.
okay,
and also number 2, board commissioner.
okay. Okay, number 1, the board commissioner, the executive director, and the chief operating officer. Chief operating officer.
Jennifer.
Well, let's just make sure that's the,
Unknown, I'm, check it out.
yeah, right, her actual title. Shall be the authorized signers on district bank accounts, correct?
You know what?
No,
It is board officer, it is not commissioner, because she's the officer that's been appointed to do this.
Oh,
So I think
as
it
the
is.
treasurer?
Mhm.
Well, but we don't wanna say treasurer, board
No,
treasurer.
because I'm also,
Oh, so,
but I
If you
think
des-
board
designate-
officers, I think board officers is right.
Oh.
Because it's,
it's an office, you're in an officer
Oh.
position.
okay. There's
Because
one
it's-
thing that, somewhere, it does not say that the treasurer countersigns checks,
that does somewhere,
not under,
policies. Look under job description, look under your job description.
yeah, but the policy
Is
is,
that in here, the job descriptions?
But this is saying the
Yeah.
officers, which is the secretary treasurer, the vice chair, and the chair.
okay,
Are the
Oh,
3
I'll double check.
officers that can. But I think under job, because I have read it, under job descriptions,
it doesn't say it.
it does say it.
Well, I'll
I
check,
think so.
okay. We'll check it, just,
Yeah, okay.
Let me write that in, descriptions. Okay. 2, all checks shall be signed by 2 authorized signers, with at least 1 signer being a board officer.
Can have 2 board officers signing.
Yeah, 2
But-
can be,
So if Craig wasn't around, if Jennifer wasn't around,
it could
then
be 2
Pam and
board
I,
officers.
me and Pam could both sign.
oh, that's okay.
board, number 3, the board shall designate the depositories for the district. Only qualified depositories for public funds are eligible to be utilized per ORS, blah, blah, blah. Funds shall be withdrawn only by those individuals authorized by the BOC to sign checks and make disbursements.
Oh, I just thought of, oh, what is the situation now? Oh, you can sign checks now, because there's not an official
I think,
treasurer,
right,
right?
so I can, and I think Tracy still can.
Just check on the bank account.
So we need updates, any of that stuff?
So now we're just waiting for the minutes, so they can take the minutes to the bank, because in our last meeting, we did all of that. And so as soon as Mary gets the minutes done, I think they have to be approved. And then they go to the bank, and then the bank can.
All right,
that
so it's
whole
in the
process.
pipeline.
So it'll be gone from the 13th to the
It's all right,
28th.
they just call me most of the time anyway.
Okay,
Okay, check. All right, so we've got 34.
delete NWRC.
Purchase, sale, lease of real property. Policy, 1, the BOC must approve the purchase, lease, trade, or sale of all real property by the SETD Northwest RC. 2, the BOC must approve all rental or lease purchase agreements. Okay,
I think that's pretty straightforward, I like that one.
loans. Policy, the BOC will approve any and all loans made to SETD NWRC.
I think that's pretty,
Okay,
okay,
audit, Board of Commissioners audit. Policy, 1, the executive director will cooperate with the auditor designated by the BOC to accomplish the annual audit. 2, the executive director shall be responsible for filing the audit report with the Office of the Secretary of State. 3, the Board of Commissioners will receive the audit report directly from the auditors. Has that been done?
he'll be here in January.
4, the executive director shall be responsible to correct any deficiencies reported by the auditors.
So basically in this, even though Kelly's gonna do it, the executive director is responsible to making sure that it's done.
Okay. All right.
I have, in addition, that the executive director shall submit this report for review by the board, because we've never seen, I don't think, what he's done. We have seen.
What report?
Do after the deficiencies are corrected.
Oh,
Right.
So number 5, the Board of
Yeah.
Commissioners will receive
Or the,
a
we're talking about
revised report.
the executive, just start out with the
shall be
executive
responsible to
director
correct any deficiencies reported.
Oh, the executive director will
shall
provide any
just submit the report,
shall
to the board.
submit or provide.
Provide, I guess, would be the better word,
So,
unless you wanna review it, unless the board wants to review it before it sends it to the audit.
and then what are we providing to the, what's,
Because you have to write, how you are going to correct the deficiencies that are cited in the audit.
The executive director, we receive the audit report,
Right.
and it's gonna tell us what needs to be corrected.
and so
Correct.
we already, we know, we did in a meeting go over those things. Or no, we got the report, we were asked to look at,
So-
and read it, and then the director got it, and so between then, and so how did the director, well, the deficiencies, he wrote a
deficiencies.
report that goes back to the auditor that said, we will complete these.
Well, and Kelly goes in and makes any changes that the auditors have told her to make. Where there's, oh, I see two. Oh, okay, wait a minute, I'm thinking of something else, okay.
Well, basically, it's pretty explicit what we're required to do. The board gets that report, it sees it.
So what I'm asking is, or suggesting rather, is that the board sees the report that the executive director submits to the audit, how and when to correct these
Before
deficiencies.
it gets sent,
No,
before the director sends it to the auditor,
No, I don't
to
think.
the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State.
No, because it may not get done before it goes to the Secretary of State. So I would suggest at the meeting where the audit is presented and we see what the deficiencies are, that's when we ask the director to please report to us at the next meeting on when you've gotten these finished.
I'd like to see them because that would be a good way to evaluate them, that they're written. And you were at the evaluation, have you done these deficiencies? But if we don't have a report, you just have a minute.
I got it
It's just a
now.
matter of where we plug that in.
And we can just we can do a number 5 on this. Executive director will report to the board when deficiencies have been corrected.
Not correct. And doesn't the director submit the report that states
Right,
that what we will do, which is basically almost just paraphrasing what they want us to do? His report, as you recall, that we just received, just basically states, we will do it, we will do this thing, these
well,
things, and in this timeline. And then we did receive, and then we got sent separately, it may have coincided with our last meeting, but, we received that document separately, didn't we? His
We
report,
got it
his response,
the day of that
okay,
meeting, and that's why he's coming in January, so we can ask him any questions. So Paul will be here in January to go over the report a little bit closer. But
Paul the auditor,
yes.
oh, I see yeah, that's what he did say, I will do that, which is meaningless. The only good thing about it, it's written down.
yeah, and we need to have that report, and it doesn't need to wait until a meeting to be presented.
Exactly.
We will be provided that report by the executive director. The executive director will provide the report,
Of the deficiencies, of the corrections.
the correction plan, the plan to
Remedies,
correct deficiencies.
report the
It
plan.
will provide the report plan, or provide the planning report
Provide the plan.
To correct the deficiencies.
to correct the deficiencies.
Good.
Okay, so that doesn't have to
And
be time sensitive, it'll be just, as soon as it's
and
completed,
deadlines. I mean, obviously,
including deadlines.
now if you wanted to get, well, most of it will probably be corrected either by the executive director or the finance
It'll be
manager.
outlined in the report, I'm assuming, although his was really very brief, and I think he got a response. Did he get a response from ODOT?
That one was, no, ODOT got the 21-22
Oh,
audit.
okay,
They asked for the 22-23 audit, but it wasn't done. And they did say, well, this wasn't ODOT, this was the audit company. They did ask for the 22-23, but we don't need it to finish the audit.
Okay, all right. So, and
Okay, so
we're trying not to filter sort of our current issues that are kind of crazy, but just number 5.
Okay, so
Let's give it one more read,
okay,
number 5.
go ahead with it. Your read.
Okay. Okay, executive director will provide the planning report that to correct the deficiencies, including deadlines. That's just a very lumpy sentence.
And still, so in my mind, okay, we're gonna correct these deficiencies within the next 4 weeks. How do we know he actually did it?
Okay, well, then just.
That's why I kind of like the executive director will report to the board when the deficiencies have been corrected.
So, and then do we also say that we get a copy of
I
the
don't know what
report?
kind of a report they can do because they're going into AccuFund and fixing things.
No, not that, but you were just wondering, like the report that we got, which said, here are the things we're going to do. Well, first we got the report from, that said, here are the things you're supposed to do, and Craig replied with the plan, which was pretty basic, and just, jump through the hoops, okay? So you want that we need that also ahead of time, that's what you want to see? Not just the report to the board after the deficiencies have been corrected. You want the response from Craig to the auditing body.
I just wanted for the record, so that if all of a sudden, for whatever reason, you come across, wow, didn't we just read this deficiency was corrected, and it's not? And you have it in writing,
That it was supposed to, it was planned to be.
and you use this in the evaluation. Maybe just before the evaluation, who's ever on the evaluation committee checks to see if these deficiencies are done.
Okay, so executive director will provide the DOC a plan, the plan
To correct the deficiency.
to correct the deficiencies. Okay, and then, after that, then there would be number 6, which would be yours, Debbie, which said, the board commissioners will receive a report from the executive director
Will
will
report to BOC when deficiencies
Okay.
have been corrected.
complete it.
Very good.
The executive director will provide a report to the BOC with after deficiencies have been completed.
Okay, get all that, but that's okay.
Okay, I got it.
You got it, so.
All right. So we got that one. All right, so assets. Policy number 1, to ensure an adequate level of insurance, the district shall maintain an appraisal and inventory of all SETD/NWRC buildings, improvements, fixtures, and contents. Do we have that inventory?
To ensure,
Who knows? Who would do that? And it'd be nice to have parallel structure, start out the district shall maintain.
insurance district shall maintain an appraisal and inventory.
Okay, we'll switch that around.
Buildings, Fixtures and contents, so, every business should have that, and I'm not sure if, since we're
I have a feeling
special,
Paul Lewicki might know about that.
special district versus government. I know I have to turn in all of my inventory to the county every year. Like my cash register, display cases,
Why?
anything like fucking taxes.
Assets,
Taxes, said frigging.
okay. Okay, so,
So they should have it, we can definitely, and the district will dispose of surplus in appropriate manner.
So we should find out who that list is, because
where the list and who, how it gets, and who we have to provide that for, too.
well, it should be somewhere, I've forgotten the technical financial term,
Well,
but you
our-
should have a list of how much your building is and
Yeah, I mean, I think we've even been provided that at times,
at
haven't we?
times.
Or there's been reference to it. So, you gonna take that one, Debbie?
Sure.
Okay. Number 2, the district will dispose of surplus property in an appropriate manner that will ensure the highest return allowed by regulations. Well, that makes sense, because they'll just look at the market rate of whatever it is. Number 3, the district will notify the insurance company of any change of status or disposal of assets, so deletions and adjustments can be made to the insurance policy.
Oh, maybe it's in the
That's an
insurance.
executive director job,
That's an
isn't it?
executive director job.
Okay.
So, you probably wanna check with Craig to see if he, can find
I wanna
that
know-
ready reference.
I also wanna know how accurate it is.
And when it was last updated.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, during COVID, there were quite a few laptops bought so people could work from home.
Okay. Well then, all that should be in the inventory, and we wanna make sure that
Well,
it's updated for insurance purposes.
should we put a position instead of the district, like the executive director or whatever?
On number 3,
Not on all of them. The district does, or does it make a difference?
I thought as long as somebody does it,
Okay,
it's not
Someone's
really,
designated.
it's really not our job to do the physical part of it. It would be more our job to say, Craig, you need to make sure this is done.
okay.
To my mind, it would be the executive director certainly needs to
And in some
have
instances,
that at his or her.
well, and I might be a little bit wrong about this, but HR does a lot of dealing with the insurance companies, and it might be HR's.
Yeah, I think that would be good for us to know that. I don't know if it has to be in here, but we would know who
does it.
who has access to all that information.
I don't think
But
HR
it certainly should have, the executive director needs to have knowledge of that ready reference.
I don't think it's the human resources director at all. It'd either be like operations, because the buses, or office manager or something like that. Human resources has nothing to do with tangible
Yeah,
assets.
could be, well, you'll get to the bottom of it. I feel very
I want
safe in
to know.
having your initials on that. Okay, district credit cards. Policy, the district will issue credit cards to improve purchasing efficiencies and reduce costs. Number 1, the BOC will approve purchasing limits and overall debt limits for district credit cards.
Does not have to be done for some report?
We do have limits, we do, and I think recently, it's not in our policies, but anything under $200,
We need that
Employee.
chart.
Anybody that has credit cards, have been issued credit cards, anything under $200, they don't need approval, but 201, they need approval. And I'm gonna be watching credit cards a lot closer. I was so this close before we failed to going, these credit cards are just outlandish how much was being spent every month on the credit cards. And no oversight, and I'm pretty sure now there was no oversight. So,
Or just, it was
But I
just maybe
was-
Jeff.
and I did question Jeff a couple of times on it in his office. And he said, well, they know what their budget is. Okay, yeah, they know what their budget is. But Hazen, everybody, I mean, maybe Jason didn't go over budget, but we didn't have money
Well,
for
we
those
need
credit cards. And when I see office supplies bought with a credit card, pisses me off, sorry.
Why is that? Because
Why? Because they can get government rates out of Home Depot and Staples and all of those,
And
that
get
they're
an invoice.
paying nothing for. I've seen it through the county, what we paid for a calendar through the county and what Office Depot charged me for a calendar. And the discounts are crazy.
So that's a whole different thing, is that when you, through a government rate, you can order something and then you will be issued an invoice and then you pay it that way?
Mhm,
Okay, and we could, and that's
Mhm.
standard.
yes,
So we need to look at, first of all, does this tell us enough, okay, as a policy? But then, we're making notes here saying, hey, we wanna make sure
and if
that we have that chart of how much,
who has credit
is it
cards and how
based
much?
on, if it's currently where each staff person has a budget or that department has a budget, and then they can independently go and, make purchases, then we need to look at that whole setup, that whole system.
See, nobody did any oversight before,
So,
just
so what
everybody
would be,
did what they wanted to do.
what's the
Right.
process for
So-
changing that?
Right now, it's $200, they don't need approval. Anything over $200, they need approval from their supervisor,
Okay.
I don't know who, but they need
But then,
approval.
but let's say you get been designated a budget, you need to talk to your supervisor all the time, be
Listen.
always talking about, all right, I'm sure they have that conversation where, all right, I need this piece of equipment, I need this, and to have the little conversation about whether or not that can be afforded at that time.
And now they're doing that now, they were not
Okay,
doing
all
that in the past.
So that has been sort of self-corrected.
And I don't,
It's
and-
gone back to the way it should have been.
and I do know that Stephanie now is in charge of ordering office products through whoever they're ordering from. And I don't mind seeing on the credit card, on occasion, office supplies, because oh my goodness.
Yeah, you
They
get
didn't
some
order
right away.
pins and we can't get them until tomorrow, so we're gonna, but honestly, those office supply places, because I use them a lot, because we don't have
Pretty
space
fast
anymore,
turnaround.
within 24 hours usually.
Well, then that's something that, you could talk to Craig about, I'm assuming, I don't know what the process is.
I think this is fine, I think we just want to know what the new.
Dollar amount?
Yeah,
And how many
Sorry.
cards?
Okay.
who's got, how many cards there are
Okay.
and what the dollar amounts are.
And that's something that, now that correction has been made with the new administration, then we just, we should, maybe just a small report of some kind
Okay.
from Craig, just
Okay.
for our purposes, to say, this is the process, to
And-
refresh our memory about
and-
how it works.
And I understand, like, Mary needs a bigger, sometimes a lot bigger limit than what she's got. Because she does all the travel plans, not that there's gonna be any for a little while. And if
I
she's,
think a review of that and a report from Craig is, for like a draft of how he sees it, And then for us to take a look at that, so we better understand it. And I don't know if it needs any approvals or anything, but.
I think just the report to start with, and then I think when we get back on our feet where we can actually start doing a little bit of traveling, I think maybe there should be, and we can come back and revise
Phasing it
this.
back in.
Yeah, and I think we can come back and revise this, but when we start traveling, maybe a certain dollar amount needs to come to the board before the travel is done.
Yeah, and just let
So-
Craig come up with a draft of how we're gonna do this incrementally. Because, you know, it's not like it can be written in stone, because, you know, there could be a travel, expense that is really a high priority for us, you know, that needs to be pushed through, and it may not meet the, you know, ban on travel or dollar amount, maximum, but at
Well,
least.
And it was like Sun River, that was a huge expense. Mary needed that limit so she could make all the hotel reservations. So I understood that. What I don't understand is why we were told we had the money for it when we didn't have the money for it.
No, because we certainly
And-
would not have, the only reason
No.
why we said we're gonna go, was that we had no idea that,
Cause we were told we had money.
Yeah, so.
And I think,
because it was, we thought being there in person had value.
and I think maybe just overall, any travel over a certain amount needs to be approved by the board.
And also, somebody should talk to SBAO, they held their conference there.
Yes, knowing that it was above government rates.
Mhm.
And Mary did ask Jeff about that. Mary did tell Jeff, hey, this is over government rates, and his response was, oh, that's okay. No, it's really not okay, because
This really needs work, and if you could get the ball rolling with Craig on kind of a ballpark, he could start a ballpark, you know, like, well, here's moving forward, how we're gonna do all this stuff, particular to expenditures of supplies, or not supplies, but supplies and equipment, you know, procuring
Yeah.
stuff, and also travel. Okay. So,
more work on that.
alright. So I'm gonna put your,
Can we just say public records is good?
Hopefully. Mary complies with those. Let's just read it really fast so we can say we read it.
which one's that?
Public records.
Okay,
Actually,
All right.
received, actually, for Mary to look at this,
yeah,
because she does the public records, we don't do a thing. I don't even know why it's a
okay.
board policy.
Well, let's just, you know what, I'll just read through it, if anything pops up, I'll put a little star there for Mary, how's that?
Okay.
Or do you wanna go through it?
Mhm.
Okay. This is public records policy, number 1, the district shall comply fully with, Oregon Public Records Law. Number 2, the BOC will approve a fee schedule which will set fees for A, copies of public records, B, certified copies, C, copies of sound recordings, D, copies of maps and other non-standard documents, E, research, F, additional charges. 3.
I don't think we've ever established a fee
I
schedule.
was just thinking we need to have Mary do us a report, let us know what they're charging and decide if that's appropriate.
Get her input on it. Okay, and then establish fees, alright. Number 3, reduced fee or free copies may be authorized by the BOC or the executive director if it is determined to be in the public's best interest. 4, the fee schedule is available upon request. 5, at no time shall an original record of the district be removed from the district's premises except upon authorization by the BOC. 6, on-site review of original records can be made if designated fees are paid in advance and a district representative is present. Charges for such a representative's time will be the same as research above. 7, any person attempting to alter, remove, or destroy district records shall have their review immediately suspended. The district's attorney shall be immediately notified of actions which has occurred. Okay,
So we'll have Mary report at a meeting, what the fees are, and the board can decide if they need to be changed.
okay. Board reimbursement. Okay, we got 15 minutes here. Purpose, to authorize allocations of funds in the budget to provide financial reimbursement of board members who attend seminars, classes, and other meetings in order to better serve the transit district, as well as further educate themselves regarding transit and or special districts. Policy, SCTD will reimburse board members for meals, room, and mileage as appropriate for travel and attendance at business-related events which are approved by the board. Reimbursements will be made in compliance with the Oregon Department of Administrative Services Accounting Manual statewide travel policy. The executive director will develop and maintain an operating policy guiding staff reimbursement.
Seen that,
Okay,
so staff has one.
okay. Procedure, number 1, prior to final approval of the annual budget, the board will determine which seminars, conferences, and meetings will be considered the most beneficial for attendance by board members so that adequate funds are included in the budget. Number 2, the board will recommend the maximum number of commissioners that will be authorized to attend each event based on available funding. Number 3, the district will make arrangements for hotel accommodations when necessary in order to obtain any available discounts. Individuals who choose to arrange their own accommodations will receive reimbursement equal to the discounted prices. 4, the amount of stipend for meals will be determined by the board. Reimbursement for meals will by the board. Reimbursement for meals will not exceed the amount stipulated. 5, carpooling is encouraged. 6, conferences attended other than those listed will be approved and reimbursed as funding allows.
Okay.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
What?
So I think we need to do the same as staff and hotel rooms and
Oh, I assumed it was.
I think it needs to be, because it doesn't I think we need to go with government rates.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to go with government rates on the hotels and meal reimbursements. For every town, like Eugene has a different government rate than Bend does. And I think that we should be following those policies.
So how would
How would I do that?
change this?
The district will make.
So instead of just board reimbursement,
Government rates.
Yeah, government rates.
After mileage, just put on government rates, at government rates.
where on this?
Under number 3, district will make arrangements for hotel accommodations when necessary in order to obtain any available discounts. And that means that they need to be using those discounts, not the director say, oh, don't worry about it.
And using government accommodations, government approved accommodations.
And government approved rates.
Okay.
And then individuals who choose to arrange their own accommodations will receive the reimbursements equal to the government rate. So if a government rate is $95 and I go out and I spend $200 on a hotel room for myself, I can get $95 back.
Yes, of course. Okay.
And then same with the amount for the stipend for meals. Shouldn't be determined by the board. I think it should be determined by those government rates. Reimbursement for meals will not reimbursement, that's,
The amount of stipend for meals,
should be according to, I think it's also government rates.
okay, got it.
And we can have Mary fix that if necessary. And then, this doesn't have it in there, but mileage, I don't know if we pay mileage to commissioners. I've never put any in for any reimbursements when I've been traveling.
Neither have I.
Well, mileage is usually included though, and maybe it would be an issue for some
It should be.
people participating.
Mileage should be the same as the government rate.
Okay, so is that an additional one,
Yeah,
or
I
should we
think I
fold
would-
it into,
I would roll it into 5.
carpooling is encouraged? Okay,
And-
that would be the second part of it, the first part would be the same thing, it's like, the
Um,
amount of,
Mileage reimbursement would also go
Mileage.
by federal government guidelines or whatever it is. Where you
like
can
like
help
in
us.
number 4,
Yeah,
the amount of mileage reimbursement will be determined by government rates.
and then carpooling is encouraged.
Okay, got it, check. All right, Board of Commissioners investment,
No. I think we could skip this if you wanna make the 230. We
okay.
don't have any investments,
Hmm.
right?
You wanna talk with Craig about that and see if you can, if there's,
The only thing is,
And it's 6 pages, we'll never get done in time.
okay,
okay,
all right, sounds good, good.
okay, so are we
Oh.
leaving, stopping? No.
We have 10 more minutes, but I don't know if you wanna do,
No, I'm gonna go,
you're done,
I'm done.
okay,
Are we done?
all right.
Evidently, we're done. Meeting is adjourned.